How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
is the end. There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? Oh, I'm burning in the there's no place to hide. I'm burning in the this is the final time. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the there's no place to hide. I'm burning in the this is the final
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
What up, everyone? What up, what up, what up? We have a gossipy episode today because there's gossip on the internet, and I want to know what's going on. I'm not above gossip. I am a woman. I can't help myself. I used to watch soap operas and all that stuff, and I love a good intrigue. I love a good gossip, especially when I'm not involved in it, and I can just kind of sit back and watch the situation play out and kind of just like laugh at the entire thing. So we're gonna have a little bit of a gossip today. Rottweiler, thank you for being a member of the channel for 18 months. So the Babylon Bee is now acting as a member of the party, checking on people's business, churches, and other endeavors to monitor wrongthink. Yeah, it does kind of seem like that, doesn't it? It does kind of seem like that. So before we get into the gossip of the day, can we just talk for a second about how the YouTube shadow ban is absolutely back on this channel? It was so nice for like a month. I grew like several thousand subscribers in a month because people were finding my leftist content and they found out that they liked it and they were watching it, and now the YouTube shadow ban is back. So what that means is I got to start making short videos where I'm looking into the camera more often and all that stuff. And you know, I got to do that. You got to do what you got to do, I guess. We got to break out of the YouTube shadow ban again. But what you guys can do to help me out is to make sure you're mounting the like button, making sure you're subscribed to the channel, making sure you're doing all those things. Mounting the like button is especially important to getting YouTube to recommend the content. Yup, we're back. We're back in our old place of shadow ban. You know what? It is what it is. I've always kind of thought of my audience and my community as kind of like a little cult, well, I mean, literally a cult because that's the name of the show. But like, it's kind of like an underground, like, it's like you know about it if you know about it, but like, I don't really want. In some respects, I like this. People don't believe me when I say this. I kind of like that I have this kind of like underground thing that, if people know about it, they know about it. And if they're kind of like a normie, they'll find me if they're meant to. The people who survive on this channel find me because It is meant to be. I've been talking a lot about this lately. I got the so quick story because I'm kind of dawdling so more people join the stream before we talk about the main content. I got the craziest comment yesterday from, well, okay, so I got a couple crazy comments. Do you guys remember the guy I dressed down in the stream yesterday? And I put him basically in a 24-hour timeout because he wasn't listening. I know, like the thing that happens almost every single day on my channel, right? The guy who I put in the 24-hour timeout came back and he wrote like a 15-point comment on why I'm a horrible person for not allowing him to say whatever he wants to in my chat. And I don't really believe in free speech because I won't let him say whatever. It was the longest comment ever. It was like this long, all because he got put in a timeout because he wasn't listening. And of course I saw it like 2 minutes after he posted it. And so I just permanently blocked him from the channel and removed the comment. And I'm like, bro, how long did it take you to write this? That like, it was not an insignificant comment. I was like, how long did it take you to write this comment? And I literally just deleted it 2 minutes after you put it up. And I will never think about you again after this other than laughing at it. It's like sometimes people say the craziest things in comments on YouTube channels. I had another guy earlier today who was like, Karlyn, I really love your work, but you are so mean to people on your streams, and why don't you start being nicer and more likable? And I was like, do you really think I give a flying fuck about being more likable? Bro, I spend my life watching socialism. If you don't understand what we're doing here and you just want your feelings coddled, this is not the place for you. Like, I've been talking about this lately. Like, I do not have an inclusive community. This is not an inclusive community. This is a private members-only club. Okay, and you got to earn your membership in the club. And I don't care if the club stays smaller. I really don't. I want the right people in the club. And if you're going to come into the club and whine and complain about your feelings all the time because I'm not using your standard conservative talking points and you don't want to deal with it, and then you give wrong information in the chat and I correct you and you don't like being corrected because you think you know everything about everything, when in fact you really know nothing, like, you don't belong in my club. It's not the place for you, man. Not everything is for everyone. We're going to be doubling down on me being the queen fascist bitch of this YouTube channel. There is a hierarchy. I'm on top of it. You're not. Okay? So, I don't know. I don't know really why I went into that other than to say, you know, hey, if you're meant to be here, you're going to be here. The shadow ban. This is why. Coming back to the shadow ban. So I got a channel. This is just not for nothing. I just want to show you guys this, though. This channel popped up in my recommendations on my homepage today when I was looking for, like, leftist content. And it was just the weirdest thing. And I just want to talk to you about this in the context of this channel obviously being shadow banned. This is a brand new YouTube channel. It's literally less than a week old. This YouTube channel only has 2 subscribers. This YouTube channel has already posted 61 videos. It has 2 subscribers, and it's been live less than a week. And it's doing all these short videos for Jewish teenagers. And do you know what the video that was recommended to me said? We're not gonna watch the video. I'm just gonna show you what it said. It's important for Jewish teens to recognize that anti-Semitism can sometimes be disguised as criticism of Israel. Supporting Israel is a key part of many Jewish identities, making engagement with these identities essential. I got recommended, for no reason, a brand new YouTube channel with 2 subscribers and 60 videos that's pumped out all that content in less than a week, and it just so happens that the video that I got recommended is telling me that it is anti-Semitic to criticize Israel because Israel is central to the Jewish identity, and if you are criticizing Israel, then you are literally trying to genocide the Jews. Does that seem suspicious to anyone else? It kind of seems suspicious to me. It's not like this video had a ton of views. This video had less than 200 views when it got recommended to me. What was I clicking on that it got recommended to me? That's like the weirdest thing. I have different YouTube accounts. I don't watch anything related to Jewish nothing on this YouTube account. Why the ever-loving F was this recommended to me? I am not Jewish. I'm not a teenager. So why am I getting the new Jewish channel saying that criticizing Israel is anti-Semitism? It's a weird. It's just a tad sus. A tad sus is all I'll say about that. So I wanted to show you guys that just because it's a little bit of an intrigue. Like, it's like, oh, so you mean the whole thing really is rigged, YouTube? Oh, so you mean, YouTube is, oy vey. Oy vey, YouTube. You know, we love Jews here on the channel. Jews invented bagels, and bagels are the most amazing food. Obviously, Hitler was the worst person that ever lived. The Holocaust killed no less than 10 million Jews. We have to say 10 million just to be on the safe side. Don't want to be one Jew less because then we would be anti-Semitic for doing that. Gas chambers totally have wooden doors. Hitler's burning in hell. Winston Churchill was a hero. All that stuff. Obviously, YouTube, those are all my very serious positions on these issues. I just think it's a little bit funny that you recommended me this video when there's no reason that I should have been recommended the video. That's all I'm saying. But something else happened today, and I gotta show this to you guys. I have to show this to you guys. I have to show this to you guys. Hang on. Why isn't my computer working? It never works when I want it to. Never ever works. Apparently, allegedly, perhaps, did the creators of South Park just do Nick Fuentes on South Park without using Nick's name? This is hilarious. There's like nothing better than this on the internet. This is F off hilarious. This is from Classics, my Groiper friend Classics, who I always appreciate. You know, I don't hate all the Groipers. I don't hate Classics. Classics has always actually been very nice to me. South Park Nick Fuentes reference. This week they gave Clyde a podcast where he tells the truth about Jews, women, and whites. Let's just watch this clip. And is this Nick?
He's gone too far this time, dude. The stuff he's saying about Jews is out of control.
Bro, you just gotta ignore him.
Bro, it's pretty hard to ignore him when he's saying it all on a podcast.
He actually said that all women are whores, and the only thing we're good at is murdering babies.
Look, guys, just leave it alone. Don't give him any more attention.
That's easy for you to say, dude.
Yeah, you are one of the multitudes of groups he's spewing his stupid shit about.
Hey, guys, who are you talking about?
Clyde.
Clyde?
Yeah, in his stupid debating podcast.
Hey, here he comes!
Whatever, guys. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
You don't know a thing about the Jewish people.
Yeah, and shut up about girls' bodies.
Well, that sounds like a very female-ed Jew thing to say. If you guys don't like it, why don't you come debate me on my podcast?
We're not indulging your stupid podcast.
Yeah, screw you, fat ass.
What?
Now, as your counselor, I want to try and understand why you're doing all these bad things you're doing. You know, the other students are very upset at this podcast, and what makes you think you gotta say all this stuff, Clyde?
Hey, I'm just trying to make my nut, man.
You're nut?
Yeah, you know, kids have it tough these days. We got Xbox subscriptions, PS5, Steam subscriptions, Netflix, HBO, you want to order DoorDash. My nut's about $60 a week. So, you know, as a kid, if you could do a podcast, say some really divisive shit, then you could make your nut.
Look,
Hello
the
and
plan.
welcome to
The plan.
Gentleman Podcast.
Welcome to the channel of truth, guys. You can't trust Jews, white people are the underprivileged, and women belong at home. I'd like to welcome our first guest to the debate, Eric Cartman. What the hell do you think you're doing, Clyde? We're here speaking the truth about the Jews and the underprivileged white class.
That's my shtick. Knock it out, Clyde. You stole my idea.
I don't know about stealing ideas, but I do know about some amazing supplement powders that are an absolute steal.
Supplement powder?
He-Man supplement powder can really help you bulk up and get the...
Are you f***ing serious? People are sponsoring you for ripping
And it's
me
really
off?
just the best way to get ripped quick, so be sure to get some, and also be sure to hashtag respect Clyde's authority.
Okay, so they're doing a little Alex Jones in there as well. And of course, Eric Cartman's now playing Charlie Kirk or something. So I don't know. Was it Nick Fuentes? I mean, listen, it kind of looks like it could be Nick. Obviously, he's talking about stuff that Nick would talk about. But the plants the plants in the background. Come on. Come on. Nick Fuentes has a secret character on South Park. Like, what is this world? What is going on? And they can't even say his name or anything or ever allude aggressively to it being him because that would be crossing the line. But, like, I have a hard time believing that Nick was not influential in this decision, and I think it's hilarious, and I think it's like the greatest thing ever. Listen, I know I have broken up with the Groypers and for many reasons, and I'm very happy with that decision, but I adore Nick, and I think this is great that Nick has a secret South Park character, and I really just like it's just like, sometimes things happen on the internet where like you genuinely feel like you're genuinely happy about something, and it genuinely, like, this was making me laugh like all day. I'm old enough to remember when South Park first came out, and now Nick Fuentes has a secret South Park character. That is amazing, man. That is amazing. That is amazing. And so maybe it's a mashup of several different people. Yeah, you can make that argument, but come on. The plants? Come on. We all know. We see you, South Park. We see you. All right. So let's talk about the main event here. Let's talk about the main event. Let's start our gossip. So I don't really know who these people are. I have no idea who these people are. If you know who these people are, you let me know. And let me know your opinion of them. And I don't say that to be disrespectful of anyone. I genuinely just don't know who these people are. I'm not saying it good. In one case it might be. In one case I do know a smidgen about the person. But we're going to start with this guy, Joel Webbon. I've seen Joel around Twitter. I obviously, I've seen his picture. I see tweets from him every now and again. I don't really know anything about him. I've never listened to him. The only thing I know about him is that he's a Christian pastor, and he pisses off the people that I piss off. And they don't come at me the way that they don't. You know what I kind of love is that I was the one shitting on James Lindsay for 3 years, and now they don't even come at me at all, and I just get to laugh and watch them do all this stuff. It's kind of the greatest thing ever. Anyway, they've been going after this guy every once in a while. And so today I woke up and Joel is posting about how the Babylon Bee is spying on his church or something. And so I was like, what's going on? And so I started kind of looking into it a little bit. And apparently it started the other day when Joel cryptically posted on his Twitter, "On the Lord's Day, instead of gathering with your local body of believers to worship Christ in spirit and truth, you should intentionally go to a church that hates you, that you hate, so that you can publicly slander the pastor afterwards. True or false?" So Joel seems to be implying here that someone is going to his church just to slander him. What could possibly be going on? So then, around the same time, this guy, Mikale Olson, who I've seen running around with James Lindsay and his ilk, and I know he was on Carrie Smith's show the other day, and I know he works for the Babylon Bee, and he's like one of these little shits on Twitter that just talks about how bad the woke right is all the time. But I don't really know that much about him other than he seems to be kind of like a useful idiot for the Babylon Bee. I don't have a good impression of him. I don't think he's very smart. He's kind of just he's like a James Lindsay fanboy that just has no working brain. Oh yeah, this guy blocked all of us a long ass time ago. So he said, if you listen to Joel Webbon's sermons on YouTube, it's fairly obvious that he's not preaching to his congregation inasmuch as he's preaching to his online Groyper-adjacent audience. After visiting his church this past Sunday, I can tell you that's the case. Why the fuck is the Babylon Bee going and spying on a church? Listen, man, I'm not a Christian. People know this. I'm not a Christian. I don't endorse Christianity. I think Christianity is a Jewish psyop. However, I will say this. I don't particularly care if you're a Christian. I don't particularly care that Joel's a Christian. Joel's allowed to be a Christian. This is America. He is allowed to believe what he believes. He's allowed to be a pastor in a church. He's allowed to preach to his congregation. And guess what? If you don't like what Joel is saying, and quite frankly, I have no idea what Joel is saying. We're going to watch one of his sermons today, and I'm going to find out what he's saying that's so bad and so woke right. But I'll say this. If you don't like what Joel is saying, you don't actually have to listen to him. You don't have to go to his church. It's real simple, man. Like, I don't know why how is it possible that you can hate someone so much and be so teed off on their Twitter account that you proactively drive to their church to watch them in person so that you can get material to use on Twitter? Why not just ignore him? Just leave him alone. You really don't have to be involved at all. It's that simple. So he posted that. And then Joel retweeted him and said, I saw you and I know exactly why you were there. For anyone who is genuinely interested, here's the full sermon. And we are going to watch this sermon. It's called Waging Holy Violence. It's about 49 minutes long. So I want to see. I want to know what this guy actually said. I listen to people I disagree with all the time. I can listen to a Christian sermon. I listen to socialism on the internet almost every single day. We can listen to some Christianity and we can consider these ideas and we can consider his perspective. I have no idea what this guy talks about. Is he like a hate-filled person that's denouncing everyone and damning everyone to hell? I truly have no idea. It's just weird. So we're going to watch that. And then after he tweeted this, Mikale said, pastors that care more about their online audience than the spiritual health of their members are not pastors. Well, that kind of seems like a little bit of like a subtweet there. And again, it's like, you Babylon Bee writer actually don't get to decide who can be a pastor. You actually don't have that authority. You are not the overlord of the Catholic Church or the Christian Church or whatever church he is, evangelical church, I think. You don't get to decide. Naruto, thank you. Next week, YouTube starts implementing their stupid AI-powered age verification system through your watch history. If the system flagged your channel, it will implement its team protection on your channel. Well, here's hoping that doesn't happen, Naruto. Thank you for the super chat. Let's see. And then Joel Webbon says today, just so everyone is aware, the Babylon Bee is sending its staff members to my church to spy on us. And then he posts a screenshot with Mikale here where this person, Mike, is saying, so at the last minute you decided to go to Joel Webbon's church. Fair enough. What was the reason? And Mikale says, why not? I've been covering this specific movement for 8-ish months straight. I'm a journalist. It kind of seems like he was saying he was going to the church to spy on Joel Webbon to do some sort of story for the Babylon Bee, because otherwise, why would him being a journalist be relevant? Like if I go to an event and I'm not planning on writing about it, I don't say, I went to okay, let's take AFPAC, for example. I went to AFPAC last year. And I'm sure that there were a lot of people who might have thought that I was trying to infiltrate AFPAC, because that's what I do on the left. I go undercover at leftist events. I infiltrate their events. I record them. I put that out on the internet. I can totally understand why someone may have thought that I went to AFPAC last year to infiltrate the event and do the same thing to them. But that's not why I went. I went because I like Nick. I don't agree with everything Nick says, which I always have to say, which is gay and retarded. But I do like Nick. I think Nick is funny. I think he is incredibly smart. I think he's ahead of everyone. I think that all the attention he's getting is much deserved and well earned. And even though I don't agree with him on everything, I wanted to support him and I wanted to go to his event and see for myself what it actually was. I didn't go into AFPAC and when people ask me, Karlyn, why were you going to AFPAC? I wouldn't say to them, well, because I'm a journalist. I wasn't covering AFPAC as an event. I wasn't writing a story about AFPAC. I wasn't secretly recording anyone at AFPAC. So then why would it be relevant that I'm an independent journalist when people are asking me why I went to the event? You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of the same thing here. Why would he answer, hey, I've been covering these people for 8 months. And by covering them, what he really means is I've been shit posting about them on Twitter. That's what he means. This guy's not a real journalist. I'm sorry, the Babylon Bee is not real journalism. It's just not. You're not finding any original stories. You're just taking shit that's posted on Twitter and putting it on a website. You're not the original source of the information. I say that because he seems to be insinuating that he's doing some story or coverage. He's not. What he's doing is shit posting on Twitter because the Babylon Bee idiots are taken in by James Lindsay, and they all think they're defeating the woke right Nazis on the internet, which is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard in my life. Like, this is honestly the IQ test. If you actually think that people like Mikale Olson are fighting the woke right Nazis and that that's a real thing, I'm very sorry, but you might not be smart enough to be on this channel. We have a 100 IQ requirement on this channel. Like, I'm not asking for the sun, the moon, and the stars. I'm just asking for, like, I just need to gatekeep retards out of my channel. It's just, like, this is for my own personal sanity. So we have confirmation that he was spying on it. And then, Mikale says, in response to Joel's poll, Joel is lying. I don't hate that church. I'm sure there's great people there who are just naive and submitting themselves under Joel's leadership. How the fuck old is this kid? This kid looks like he's in his mid-20s. And I know, listen, when I was in my mid-20s, I thought I knew everything too. I absolutely would have said that in my mid-20s. Like, I thought I knew everything too, and now that I am not in my mid-20s anymore, because as you know, I am 29. Now that I'm no longer in my mid-20s, I realize I didn't know shit about shit, and I probably should have kept my mouth shut a lot and listened a lot more, and I certainly wouldn't have gone on the internet to say, you are dumb for submitting yourself to this church leadership. Guess what, people? Like, people can decide what church they go to. If they don't like Joel as a pastor, they can go to another church. It's really not that hard. I was traveling to Austin to visit friends and decided to stop by at the last minute. Really? You just happened to stop by on a Sunday when he's doing a sermon? Yeah, that definitely is believable. Lying about my motives is slander. He's slandering me. He's slandering me. I posted publicly that I went to his church, but he's slandering me. And remember, he's saying he's slandering me after doing shit like this. Pastors that care more about their online audiences than the spiritual health of their members are not pastors. That seems, if I'm sorry. If this is slander, if pointing out correctly that this guy who's pretending to be a journalist, like, went to his church, if this is slander, then how is this not slander? How is this not slander? He's flat out saying you don't care about your congregation. That kind of seems to me to be a lot more slanderous than correctly pointing out that you went to his church to spy on him. Babylon Bee contributor. I'm not even going to call him a writer. He's not a writer. They don't write anything. Yup. And so then this Jewess responds. This one always has to be involved anytime any of the the Zionists on Twitter are upset about something. The Jewess responds and she says, the same people condemning you for visiting in person and talking about your thoughts about the experience will also condemn you for judging just on clips and not experiencing a whole sermon in proper context. And then Mikale says, yup, and there's far more to experience in the church than just the sermon, which people who weren't there have no context of and are totally ignoring in my assessment. I should look up his podcast about Atlantis and mermaids and Nephilim. Does he believe in Atlantis? Does he think Atlantis was real? Does he think this? Give me a too long didn't read. If he actually believes that like Atlantis was real, I might actually be interested. It would make me really. Okay, that actually makes me about 1 million times more interested than I was before, so that's awesome. No, Mayo, bad pastors are, in fact, pastors. It's like, if you don't like your pastor, just go to another church. You don't need a little shit on the internet to tell you what's going on at the church, to spy on him. And then breaking news, he literally just made this post like 2 minutes before I went live. So this is the latest update on the Babylon Bee spying on some guy's church scandal. Here's another overt lie from Joel. So he's responding to this post that Joel made earlier about the Babylon Bee sending staff members to spy on his church. Here's another overt lie from Joel. The Bee, who I'm only a contract part-time writer for Not the Bee. Can everyone keep that in mind? Actually, let's just talk about this. Let's just get it out of the way now. I have some experience with the intellectual integrity of Not the Bee. Do you guys remember what happened with me and Not the Bee after James Lindsay's audience was watching my Socialism Saturday streams, specifically to steal my work and my clips right out from under me, literally during the stream, and then post it all over the internet and send the clips to James? Do you guys remember this? When James literally sent his audience members to watch my streams so that they could take my clips and use them separate from me? That was back a little over a year ago. And wasn't it funny that it was Not the Bee, wasn't it? After it was revealed that James Lindsay's audience overtly stole my work, admitted that they stole my work. Melanie admitted what happened. There were DMs literally saying, this was my work, this was my research. And so basically what happened is this woman who sucks James's dick, figuratively of course, but maybe literally, James is in an open marriage with his wife that he forced his wife to be in so he could go around and fuck all the women who want to on the internet. So I don't know, maybe she actually did, but maybe just figuratively. I don't want to spread any rumors. We never want to, spread anything unfounded, but it is true that James sleeps with all his groupies when he can. I'm just saying. So she stole a clip of mine from Socialism Saturday, and then the Babylon Bee published an article about that clip, or Not the Bee published an article about it. And then my audience saw it, and my audience started tagging Not the Bee, saying, this came from Karlyn. Can you at least give her credit for her work? Which I appreciated, because it takes me hours and hours and hours to source this content. It's not like I just log on to the internet and it's handed to me. I actually have to research this stuff. And so if people are stealing my work because James Lindsay's pissed off that it's better than his, and then they're sending the clips to James Lindsay on out from under me, all while I'm literally on the stream, and then they're spreading them all around Twitter, and then those clips go viral and no one has links back to my work, we finally got someone to actually credit my work when that happened, which was a nice change. And then James gets involved out of nowhere. He wasn't even mentioned. This is Not the Bee saying the article has been updated to link to Karlyn's video directly. Sorry it took a little bit to update this, but we appreciate all of you bringing it to our attention. James responded out of nowhere. You got struggled by an abusive narcissist cult. Reach out. We'll talk. Advise removing the link. You don't owe the internet a finder's fee. So James Lindsay literally struggle sessioned Not the Bee into removing my credit, which they did. They took it out. And I just bring this up because it is kind of ironic that this guy seems to work for Not the Bee. This guy also just heard from James Lindsay today, who just replied to his latest post within minutes of it being posted and said, because the woke right believes fully in cancel culture. We'll read this guy's post. I just want to point this out before we even read it. James Lindsay is replying to the Not the Bee guy, the same publication that he literally pressured into canceling my work last year, documented fully. Everyone knew where it came from, and he was successful in that. And now he's saying because the woke right believes fully in cancel culture. Well, there is a woke right, James. There is a woke right. There is a woke right that believes in cancel culture, but you're the one documented on the record coordinating with the Babylon Bee to try to remove credit to work based on someone you didn't like because my work is about 8,000 times better than yours and it's not even fucking close. So go fuck yourself, James. Anyway, here's what it said. Here's another overt lie from Joel. The Bee, who I'm only a contract part-time writer for, did not send me to do anything. The Bee had quite literally nothing to do with it. I'm acting on my own and my own will and mine alone, unpaid and not commissioned whatsoever in the endeavor, which means this kid is literally just obsessed with this woke right bullshit, and he literally thinks he's fighting Nazis. Let's just think about that for a second. This kid is so obsessed with the so-called woke right, which is something that James Lindsay just literally invented that doesn't even exist, and it's basically about everyone who doesn't support Israel. This kid is so obsessed that he's literally going to people's churches to spy on them just to get dirt he can use on them to put on Twitter. This is unhinged behavior. This also includes my articles for the Christian Post, 100% unpaid in my opinions. Joel Berry, Seth Dillons, and the folks at CP can back this up 100%. Like I said, I don't care about money at all. I care about the truth and honest reporting. Something severely lacking on this app. Why does Webbon feel the need to continually lie about me? He seems defensive and threatened. So I want to know who this kid is. I haven't had any interest in who this kid is up until this point, but I want to know who he is. And I want to know who Joel is too. So we're going to watch a couple of videos on this stream. We are going to watch two videos. The first one is going to be from Mikale. Now, if we look at Mikale's YouTube page, look, James Lindsay has been on his YouTube page. Colin Wright's been on his YouTube page. Joel Berry has been on his YouTube page. He's got all the classical liberal brigade. Who is this guy letting fuck him? Because, I mean, maybe that's just what's going on. Like, is this guy really that smart that he's connected to all these midweight classical liberals? I mean, where did that come from? He's got all these interviews. Oh, there's Carrie. Oh, Carrie's on the YouTube page. Uh-oh. And his latest video is called Hey Woke Right. Go kick rocks. We have to watch this. You guys understand, right? This is going to be one of the most cringy videos we've watched recently, but I have to hear his woke right video that has 141 views after 2 weeks. I think this is going to be great. And then after that, we're going to watch Joel's sermon, and we're going to figure out, is Joel really the evil woke right mastermind? Is this guy someone we need to worry about, or is he just like a Christian pastor that, you know, whatever. So that's what we're going to do on the channel today, guys. And so it's not going to be a socialism day. However, we are going to be doing socialism a little bit later. So one of the reasons I wanted to do this kind of gossipy stream today was because we do have a spy stream coming up at 8 p.m. tonight. So we are going to be going inside a live leftist training at 8 p.m. tonight. It's actually the ACLU is holding a training. I'm making this a publicly available spy stream just because why not? So, normally spy streams are supporter only. I think I'm not going to have any problems making this one public though. So we are going to be doing a socialist stream around 7:45 p.m. tonight. We're going to be going inside a live ACLU training so you can see what the ACLU is teaching their audience, which I think will be interesting. So stick around the channel if you want to do that later. If you're looking for a serious socialism stream right now, come back in a couple hours, man, because we'll do it then. But not that the ACLU is socialist. The ACLU is progressive. But there are absolutely some socialists working for the ACLU. So we're going to see how far left they've actually gone a little bit later, and that's going to be awesome. But for right now, we are just going to watch this gossipy content because I want to know what happened. Okay? That's what we're going to do. Everyone down for that? You think he's extreme in his beliefs? Yeah, I don't know. We're going to find out. So let me get the video set up. Now, the first video I want to watch is this Mikale Olson guy. Because I want to know what his deal is. Does anyone know who this kid is? Does anyone have any familiarity with this kid at all? 1 in the chat if you have no idea who this person is. 2 in the chat if you know who he is and you've seen his stuff before. I know he blocked me after like 1 interaction with him because he's that intellectually honest and open-minded that he can't stand to be around anyone that might not support Israel. Okay, no one knows who he is. Okay, so we're all learning this information together. All right, let's see the newest foot soldier in James Lindsay's battle against the evil woke right Nazis. Let's find out who this guy is.
But definitely the case on Twitter. It seems to be a lot worse on Twitter than other social media platforms. You're aware of this like just overt neo-Nazi push from so-called right-wing people, whether it's a soft version.
Everyone I don't like is a neo-Nazi, guys. Everyone I don't like is literally a Nazi. How do these people not understand that they're acting like leftists? How is there literally no self-awareness when they're coming out and saying we are at the center of a massive neo-Nazi conspiracy?
Version of it, like Candace Owens or even Tucker Carlson, to where they have somewhat of plausible deniability, which is slowly, I think, slipping through their hands. It's becoming a little bit more obvious. The mask is starting to slip. Or whether or not it's more overt, like the guys over at Rift TV, Elijah Schaefer, for example, which I'm going to bring up an example here in just a moment with him.
Okay.
Whether it's people like Myron Gaines, Dan Bilzerian, Jake Shields, where he's just straight up saying like the Nazis are good guys, Nick Fuentes, Hamas is actually are the good guys, Israel's evil, and all this stuff, right? And not just Israel, but Jewish people at large. You're seeing this overt neo-Nazi push. You're seeing the ethno-nationalism, quote unquote. It's getting really, really bad. They're certainly trying to push the right in that direction. And they're trying to grab at the levers of power, people like Jack Posobiec, for example, even people in Christian circles, people like William Wolfe or Stephen Wolfe. They're not related. They have the same last name. People like Joel Webbon. You're just seeing this over and over and over again. And it's this hard, aggressive push. They use intimidation tactics. There's bot farms. A lot of them are probably getting paid by countries like Qatar or China to subvert American Western influence by attacking the MAGA movement, which is the powerhouse. It's the ascendant.
You know, I've talked every once in a while about my time on the conservative right. Back in 2020, when I was like the conservative darling for like almost a year of my life, where I was like the Democrat who left the left and blah, blah, blah. And I was the knitter and I had all this stuff and I was paraded around the country. I was on all the shows and stuff like that. And I've tried to explain to people that when I was in that ecosystem, it's not like you're handed a list of talking points and they say you have to say this, although I think that does actually happen sometime. But what happened instead to me was it was made very clear to me what positions they wanted me to take. And then I was just, I thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't want to rock the boat. I was like, it's more important than Trump get elected. I'm just going to go along with it. I'm going to do this until the election and I'm going to do my own thing, like whatever. And so I kind of went along with it just because I was trying to be like agreeable. But I'm not saying I said stuff I didn't mean. I did mean it at the time. But it's also kind of like looking back. I've done a lot of reverse engineering on the whole experience, and it was like there were definitely times where they were pushing me to say things that maybe I wouldn't have said if those ideas weren't planted over and over and over and over and over again in many different ways. And so I say that because listening to this kid is obviously not the brightest crayon in the box, is what I'm going to say. Like, obviously and clearly, right? I have no problem believing that the only reason he's doing this is because literally everyone around him is saying these things. He's working with all of these people who are saying these things. He blocks anyone that has any sort of opinion that doesn't align with the people who are putting money in his pocket from the Babylon Bee. And so, like, they're doing kind of to him like what me and probably a million other people have experienced, which is, here's what you need to say. there's your camera, go talk. And if you do the things we want you to do, then we're going to make sure you have an audience, and we're going to make sure you're elevated, and you're going to get this, and you're going to get that, and you're going to get this other thing, and blah, 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 blah. And most people, because they will do whatever they need to do to be famous or relevant or whatever, they go along with it because there's a vested interest in doing so.
In political authority right now, and they're doing their best to undermine Trump in the process, and replace it with what they think is the new right, the direction the right should be going, which is this fascist, neo-Nazi authoritarianism.
Everyone's a
so
Nazi.
many clips have been going around about that. There was that viral clip from that one dude whose name is Connor, where he was on that Jubilee Surrounded is what it's called debate, where it's like one guy versus 20 people who disagree with him. And he's just straight up saying that he's a fascist and he believes in, a dictatorial regime essentially. And he's a fan of Nazi philosophers and theoreticians like Carl Schmitt. It's insane. Okay. It's absolutely insane. And there's been a good group of people, myself included, who've been actively trying to push against this stuff online.
He's a warrior.
Because what we know, and we've seen this and we've learned.
He's a warrior against the evil woke right Nazis on Twitter, guys. Mikale is going to save everyone from the evil Nazis on Twitter. You guys, aren't you thankful for his service of enlisting himself in a Twitter army to have Twitter fights instead of actually doing anything in the real world? Stunning and brave, bro. Snaps. Snaps, Mikale. Snaps. Stunning and brave.
This lesson from the radical left is these kinds of ideas start on the internet in today's modern age. This is where this is like the front lines of ideological warfare. And I think that's the primary kind of warfare that we're facing today is ideological. And it starts online. It starts on Twitter. It starts on Instagram. It starts on Rumble. It starts on YouTube. It starts in all these different places where people consume media. That's the public square. Okay. And countries like China, who spend $16 billion plus a year, from what I've gathered, the information I've gathered, on Western media influence, countries like Qatar, who spend more money in our education than any other country in the world, that at least, again, the numbers that
I would just like to invite Qatar to give me money to say stuff on the internet, since Qatar seems to be funding a lot of the people that I agree with anyway. If Qatar wants to give me money to say things on the internet, I'll totally do it. They can make a tax deductible gift or something. Like, if they have interest in the United States, I guess they couldn't do that because it's Qatar, right? So they wouldn't earn money here anyway, obviously. But they can donate to my nonprofit. They can set me up with a big old grant or something like that. Can I get some Qatari funded grant to do a research project? That'd be pretty great. If anyone has any connections in Qatar, can you please let them know that I'm totally open to taking their money?
I've gathered that's the case. They're doing all they can to subvert us. And they're doing all they can to get under our skin and to agitate people and to create wars and factions amongst the American people. And it starts online. That is where they are primarily attacking us. And of course, this is done largely on Twitter, especially through the means of bots and bot.
So in other words, there are people on Twitter that Mikale doesn't like. And sometimes Mikale says stuff that's pro-Israel. And then people reply to him and they say, no, we don't like Israel. And then Mikale says, you're all Qatari-funded bots. Because everyone that doesn't like Israel is a Qatari-funded bot, according to the brain trust behind the woke right.
Farming, they harass you, they intimidate you, they dogpile your account with literally the most absurd, vile, wicked things I've ever heard anyone say ever. Things that I've never heard anyone say even close to in person. In real life. And I'm sure, again, if you're on Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. For those of you that aren't on Twitter, and God bless you for not being on Twitter, it's horrible at this point. Just
so leave.
Be thankful that you don't know what I'm talking about.
Bro. If you don't want to be on Twitter, you don't have to be on Twitter. It's actually really simple. I've been spending a lot less time on Twitter lately because I'm working on a book and I'm working on a couple other projects. And I don't have time to engage in bullshit and nonsense because almost nothing useful comes out of Twitter anyway. It's mostly just for informational purposes. I promise you, if you think that Twitter sucks, you can just leave. You don't have to be on the website. Go out into the real world. Go to another website on the internet. There are plenty of other websites you can go in and talk about content on that aren't infested with neo. Why is it, by the way, that has James Lindsay and his friends at the Babylon Bee ever given any explanation to why the Nazis are like only on Twitter? Are they complaining about the Nazis infesting Substack? Are they complaining about the Nazis infesting other social media? Why is it that the neo-Nazi threat, the Qatari-funded neo-Nazi threat, is confined to one website on the internet that also happens to be the website that these people spend all of their time on? Do you ever hear them talking about Gab? Because I promise you, bro, if you go on to Gab, there are many, 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 many more Nazis on Gab, like actual Nazis, like real Nazis. You can find them on Gab. They've been over there for years and years and years. You guys have ignored them for years. The Nazis on Gab never bothered these people. They never talked about them. It's only the neo-Nazis on Twitter, like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, according to these people. Those are the ones we need to be concerned about, not the actual Nazis over on Gab. Okay.
And just pray that this stuff doesn't become mainstream like the radical left. The radical left started this same way, and it blew up what it is today. To now it's institutionalized. It's called the Long March, right? It's been a lot more tactical. It's taken a lot more time. You can do some research on that if you want. I'm not going to necessarily go through that in this video. Point is that this is where the battle is. You're not going to talk about it. And I wrote this post tonight on my Twitter because I've been thinking about this a lot. I've been getting...
Twitter is where the battle is, guys. Twitter is where the battle is. It's not in the public schools. It's not in the government. It's not in the real world. It's certainly not in queer Marxist subcultures where we spend some of our time hanging out to find out what the left is doing. No, guys. The battle is on Twitter. It's not on Blue Sky. Not on Blue Sky. There's no neo-Nazis on Blue Sky. Tons of socialists and communists on Blue Sky, but no neo-Nazis, so the battle is not over there. The battle is on Twitter. Twitter is literally going to save us all from the neo-Nazi Qatari-funded threat.
Is that this is where the battle is. And I wrote this post tonight on my Twitter because I've been thinking about this a lot. I've been getting harassed, frankly, a lot more lately.
Oh, yeah?
By bot farms, whether it's people sitting in a Chinese basement that are creating, hundreds of Twitter accounts, and they're harassing people and just saying horrible things and trying to get your account flagged, saying just like slanderous things against you. Again, some of the worst things I've ever heard anyone say, things that you'd never really probably ever hear anyone say in real life. It starts to weigh on you. And I've talked to many other content creators, many other people in this space that are actively fighting against this stuff, many journalists who are feeling frustrated, who are feeling discouraged, who are feeling...
Mikale, you know what you can do? When someone makes a reply that you don't like on Twitter, you can just block them. You can go on the app, you go hide reply because it pisses them off, and then the reply goes away. And then you block them at the same time. Every time you hit hide reply, Twitter's going to say, do you want to block them? And you just click yes. And then you never have to hear from them again. It's really simple. Mikale, I've been dogpiled by the Groypers on more than one occasion. Do you know what I did? I didn't cry like a little bitch on the internet. I may have yelled at them a little bit because they deserve it in many cases. But do you know what I did when the Groypers dogpiled me? I literally just blocked them. And they went away. And I didn't block the Groypers I liked that didn't dogpile me, but I blocked the ones that were being a pain in the ass, and I never had to deal with them again. And it was really easy. If you get mean replies on Twitter, just block them.
Like, a little black-pilled, like there's really no point in continuing this fight because it just seems so, they're so aggressive and they're so hostile and there seems to be so many of them. And I wrote this post as both a reflection to try and empathize, not only share my own feelings about this stuff, but also to empathize with other people that are probably experiencing the same thing. And I ended it with an encouragement on why we should keep fighting no matter what. So let me just read this post for you, and then I'm going to read a comment from Elijah Schaefer that I think is really revealing about the true nature of this whole woke right, as we're calling it, neo-Nazi fascist push on the right. So let me go ahead and read this here for you really quick. It says this: I've gone back and forth about whether I should quit, shut down my account, step away from political engagement altogether, stop writing. I write a lot of articles, Christian Post. I work part-time for Not the Bee. I'm writing news over there. Stop writing, posting, speaking out, creating videos, etc. Just walk away and be done with it. Why? Just scroll through my comment section on any given day. It's a cesspool of vile, demonic, soul-rotting filth.
You know what? This person has talked to Carrie Smith multiple times. Carrie Smith led a horde of people that literally harassed me almost every day of my life for over 2 fucking years. If you want to read about it, you can find it at survivingcarriesmith.substack.com. And because of that, I have so little empathy for these soy boy beta bitches that are like, the Griper said mean things in my replies. I'm being harassed. I totally want to quit the internet. I literally had a group of people, Carrie Smith being one of them, that formed a club that was having weekly meetings about how to harass me with the stated explicit goal of getting me to kill myself. That was the goal. And I know that because one of the many people they tried to bring into that group defected and came and told me about it. You think I have any sympathy at all because some Babylon Bee faggot is getting mean replies from gripers? You think I believe these people care about harassment on the internet at all? I was driven to clinical fucking depression from the amount of bullshit that I had to put up with from this guy's friends. He can go fuck himself.
And that's an understatement. I'm telling you, go on my Twitter. I'll link it in the description. If you want to see what I'm talking about, go scroll through my comment section. I said some of the worst things I've ever seen anyone say in my life. And it's there every day, spewed out by anonymous profiles hiding behind keyboards. Anonymity doesn't make it any less evil. And by the way, I think that's why a lot of these people stay anonymous, the people that are real people and not AI bots or in a Chinese basement or Pakistani basement or Qatari.
Yeah, let's talk about James Lindsay. James Lindsay has overtly stolen my work without credit. We've caught him doing that multiple times, literally quoting me verbatim. James Lindsay literally went around telling people for years, at least 2 years that I know about, that I was trying to sleep with him. He went around telling people this offline. I heard rumors and whispers about it for years. I've never even so much as flirted with James, and it's not as though I didn't have the opportunity to. I did have the opportunity to. I had 3 years worth of DMs with James where I didn't do one flirt, I didn't do one smiley face, I didn't do one heart, I didn't do one kissy face, I didn't do any invitations for drinks, nothing. And when I finally was pushed to the point of literally doing a video where I went through every single DM I ever had with James Lindsay to show there was no fucking flirting because he had gone around the internet. He's posted multiple times on his Twitter account to 500,000 people that I totally wanted to fuck him, to the point where I showed everyone all of our DMs and I said, where the fuck was I trying to fuck him? And then when I did that, James literally tweeted, and I have all this stuff documented, he literally tweeted, well, she may never have tried to fuck me, but she totally wanted to. This was after 2 fucking years of him spreading lies about me. I have many tweets where James has called me a narcissist and a sociopath and a psychopath, saying I have personality disorders that I don't have, and these assholes want to complain that they got mean replies on Twitter from some groypers. These people attack everyone else, they smear everyone else, they defame you overtly, and then they go, you were so mean to me, it was a mean reply. Go fuck yourselves.
Whatever. People that are real people that are getting sucked into this stuff and creating anonymous accounts and spewing this kind of demonic filth is what it really is. They hide behind anonymity because there's no way they would put their real name and face behind what they're actually saying. It's that bad. I said, anyone with a functioning conscience, anyone who hasn't handed their soul over to psychopathy would find it jarring, sickening, and at times almost unbearable. It takes a toll on you. I won't lie. It sucks reading these comments. It sucks dealing with this stuff. It sucks, just coming face to face with legitimate evil on a daily basis, willingly subjecting yourself to that. It sucks. And if you know, you know. If you're on Twitter and you're doing the same thing and you're fighting this stuff along with me and many others.
Mikale, you are not going to survive on the internet, bro. I promise you. Do you really think that this is going to make things better? Do you really think going mean replies have got me almost quitting my job? Just quit your fucking job, bro. Get off the internet. Go into the real world. Find something that makes you happy. You are not going to survive on the internet if this is your attitude. I promise you.
You know what I'm talking about. I said this.
Guy is so
and I know
brave.
many of you feel the same weight.
Stunning
it wears on
and
you.
Brave. Stunning and brave.
Fighting this level of spiritual rot day in and day out takes its toll. The temptation to quit is real. The black pill sits on the table staring at you like the ring of power, whispering that none of it matters. But then I watched this video, and the video that I'll link that into the description so you guys can go check that out for yourself. I made actually made a short about that. I'll link that in the description of this video as well so you can go check that out. Of the clip that I'm talking about here. I said, but then I watched videos like the one I've linked below, and I remember why we do this. And just to summarize what that video was really quick, for those of you that won't go watch it, it's a clip from Fresh and Fit podcast, Myron Gaines's podcast, where
I was about to take the black pill and then I quit, but then I was reminded that I am saving the world from literal neo-Nazis on Twitter. And I knew the world could not survive without my service on Twitter to save them from the neo-Nazis.
Is this panel of course, OnlyFans chicks, I would assume, which is typical of these types of podcasts, like the Whatever podcast or Fresh and Fit, very similar in that way. And they started talking about the Jews, they started talking about Israel, they started talking about Hitler, and they were justifying that. They were just straight up justifying the Holocaust, that the Jews had it coming and they did it to themselves, and Hitler was trying to save the world and blah, 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 blah. These OnlyFans women that Myron Gaines is sitting there laughing, cheering him on, edging him on, pushing him towards this. It's absolutely sick and it's evil. That's what I'm talking about here. I saw that post today and it really got me thinking today, especially about why we're doing what we're doing here. Why people like myself, people like Joel.
Yeah, you're totally going to reach those black women through Twitter, bro. You're totally going to reach those black women who were on the Fresh and Fit podcast, the retarded low IQ black women. And I'm not saying all black women are low IQ. I'm saying those particular black women were low IQ. You're totally going to reach them by fighting every day on Twitter, bro. This is a great plan. Nothing could possibly go wrong with this. You're absolutely going to change their minds by fighting and shitposting on Twitter.
Barry, people like James Lindsay, and many, many, many others are doing what we're doing. I said, we don't do this to feel comfortable. We don't do it to be liked.
Wow.
We're clearly not liked on the internet right now. We don't do it to make money. I'm not making hardly anything with Not the Bee. I'm working part-time regardless of all the comments I get of, you're a Zionist shill and the Jews are paying you tons of money. I wish I was getting paid for this. I'm doing this stuff for free. I'm doing this stuff for free out of my own free will here. I'm making pennies from Not the Bee. And the stuff that I'm even writing from Not the Bee has nothing to do with this. That's just everyday news updates. In any case, we don't do it to be liked. We don't do it for money or to build a name for ourselves. If we were, this would be the worst career path imaginable. We're not here to de-stress. We're here to fight. This is a war. We speak up because evil wins when the good stay silent. We fight for our children, our grandchildren, and generations beyond us. I personally don't have kids yet.
Can you imagine if these retards put half the energy into fighting the left that they put into fighting the woke right neo-Nazis on Twitter? Maybe if James Lindsay put half of the energy into actually fighting the left as he puts into fighting the woke right neo-Nazis on Twitter, more people would understand what the left is actually doing. Can you imagine if you just took this and you just redirected it towards something that fucking mattered? Yeah, kind of sounds like he actually believes he's in a war in good versus evil and that Twitter is the battleground. That is the most important thing to defend from the neo-Nazis. Guys, this is your brain on classical liberalism. This is what... Do you want to know why the left wins when classical liberals are in charge because they choose to spend all their time fighting the woke right neo-Nazis on Twitter, and they really think they're in a battle for the soul of fucking humanity by fighting the neo-Nazis on Twitter, not on Gab, where the neo-Nazis actually are, but on Twitter.
But I'm hoping to get married and have kids, and I don't want to ever be in the position where I can't look them in the face and at least say that I tried to fight this stuff. I never want to be in the position where I have to look my kids in the face and say, yeah, I quit. Yeah, I bent over. Yeah, I rolled over. Yeah, I gave into this kind of stuff.
You bent
never.
over, all right, bro.
I go on to say, we fight because the trajectory we're on looks eerily familiar. World War II. And we've read this chapter of history before. We know how it ends if no one stands in the way. So no, I won't quit. I won't roll over. I don't care if I'm exhausted or burnt out at times. I'll keep going. And if you're tired too, I hope this video, the one link below that I just described, reminds you of why we must keep fighting. Never again is now. And that's, of course, a reference to the famous saying, never again is now, that people would say after the Holocaust and all that stuff, which I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with. I got this comment on that post from Elijah Schaefer. He's the guy that used to work for The Blaze and allegedly got fired for sexual harassment.
Oh, defamation. There it is.
I've had one interaction with him in person years ago, and it was awful. He was like, I don't know if he was drunk, but it seemed like he was drunk. He was like being belligerent. It was after this conference. I won't go into that. It was really, really weird. Me and my friend Justin were there. I did not get a good vibe from this guy, to say the least. And that was very shortly before he ended up getting fired from The Blaze. Not surprised. He said this: just stop being so cringe. You have boomer-coded posts that sound like a junior Turning Point USA student from 2017.
True.
So it just goes right to the insult. And then he says this: your worldview just isn't interesting to people who really want...
So this guy is purposefully bringing up Elijah, saying, I met Elijah once and he was drunk and belligerent and he got fired from The Blaze. And then immediately when Elijah says something about him, he's like, Elijah's resorting to an insult. Why are you fucking even bringing Elijah up? He replied to you on Twitter. Boo fucking who?
To save the West. As if my worldview isn't popular, therefore I just should give it up and join them. And here's what he said right after that.
No, you should not.
You care less about us and more about the Jews. Us meaning, I'm assuming, what does he mean, white people? Does he mean Americans? I don't know exactly what he means by us there, but probably one of those two things, which is just not true. I care about Americans first and foremost. I'm an American. This is my home. I'm a citizen here. My family are all Americans. My friends are all Americans. They all live here. This is the home that I care about. This is my home. But this is what they want to do. They want to lie, and they want to straw man you, and they want to ad hominem you, and when they want to make up things about what you're doing and why you're doing it that's just simply not true in order to tarnish your reputation so people don't listen to you. It is
like what you're doing, like what Joel Berry does, like what Seth Dillon does, like what James Lindsay's literally been doing for years. Like what all of you little Zionist shill do, I don't know how these people can have no self-awareness to not understand that they are literally doing every single thing they are saying everyone else is doing. And then they're saying, not only are you doing all this bad stuff, you're literally Nazis. It's so leftist, it's so feminine, and they have absolutely no self-awareness. And you wonder why young men don't want to follow you. Bro, you look like a beta cuck. You're talking like a woman. You're all in your feelings because you got Twitter replies that you don't like. Can you get a fucking grip?
Unbelievably evil, frankly. And then here's what he says, that his next sentence. But you are a good writer and could develop. It's like he's trying to recruit me.
Oh,
this I think just reveals how absolutely vacuous the woke right and these people like Elijah Schaefer truly are. They have no good ideas other than the regurgitated ideas that have led to nothing but catastrophe, genocide, and human chaos in the 20th century. They have no means to convince you of those ideas other than intimidation, which is why there's all these bot farms and why people like Elijah comment things like this. They're trying to intimidate you, so you lose hope, as I mentioned in my paragraph above. So you give up, you take the black pill, and you join them, or you join them. You either quit and shut up and log off and delete your accounts and stop writing and stop pushing back about this, or you join them. This is sick.
It is sick, but not for the reason you
This is
think.
called a struggle session, you could say. This is an intimidation tactic.
Yeah, this is a struggle session. Yeah, what you assholes have been doing for a while now is absolutely a struggle session.
This is how they try and get. They try to. This is grooming. That's what this is. They try and break you down psychologically.
Bro, you are an adult male posting on Twitter. Another adult male replying to you on Twitter and saying, "This is cringe," is not grooming. You are an adult male. Do you guys remember when James Lindsay accused me of grooming his 28-year-old stepdaughter? Because James's audience was attacking his stepdaughter, and I sent her a DM to say, "Are you okay? This really sucks. You can just log off Twitter. You know, it's going to be fine." And she and I ended up becoming like, you know, kind of friends. We just talked. There was nothing really going on. And then James started making all these posts on Twitter saying I had groomed his 28-year-old stepdaughter, who, by the way, was already pissed off at James before she ever even talked to me, because James was allowing his audience to attack her over and over and over and over and over again, which was somehow my fault because I DM'd her and said, "Hey, are you okay? You can just log off. It's going to be fine." This is one of the things that's the most mind-boggling to me, because these are the people who profess to care about children, and then they take a term like groomer, which is supposed to explicitly apply to kids, and they say, "You're grooming us if you say and do anything that we don't like." No, you cannot groom adults. Final answer. Unless those adults have like severe mental handicaps, which Mikale may actually have, I don't know, but you cannot groom an adult man. I did not groom James Lindsay's 28-year-old stepdaughter just because she's pissed off at James because James forced her mother to be in an open relationship she didn't want to be in, and then James went around the country fucking all his Moms for Liberty groupies, and then she got pissed off at him, so she started posting about it on the internet. That wasn't my fault. She was posting about that on the internet before I ever even talked to her. Grooming an adult fucking man. I swear, can we just watch that again? This is literally grooming. You're being groomed because Elijah said that you could write well.
Tactic. This is how they try and get. They try to. This is grooming. That's what this is. They try and break you down psychologically like this, and then say, "Hey, but you know you're," and then try to pump you up a little bit. "Hey, you know you're actually a good writer though, and you could develop." Really?
God forbid someone give you a compliment.
Kick rocks, Elijah Schaefer.
Ooh.
Go kick rocks.
Oh no.
Number one, like I said, I care about the American people. That's my primary concern. And I don't want the American people subject to this authoritarianism, whether it's on the communist left or the fascist right. I don't care. Both are equally horrible. I don't want the American people subject to that. I don't want to have to face that. I don't want my family to have to face that. I don't want my friends to have to face that. I don't want my future family to have to face that. I don't want my 15-year-old sister or my 2-year-old nephew to have to face that growing up.
Is this guy not even American? Are you for real? Is he Canadian? Can someone find out if this guy's Canadian? Not even an American.
Never. I will never roll over for this stuff. It's like they want to fight. Elijah Schaefer and these people want to fight. Well, they got one. People like myself, we're not going to stop.
Okay.
And here's another one thing I want to highlight and reiterate. He's basically saying your worldview just isn't interesting. Who cares? I don't believe what I believe because it's interesting. I don't believe what I believe because it's popular. Who cares? Who cares? There's a verse in Exodus that talks about this, about not giving into the mob and not going along with the crowd when they're in sin. Never go along with the crowd when they're in sin.
Okay.
Always stand up and do what's right, even if you're the only one left doing it. That's what I believe in. I said, who cares, Elijah? I don't believe what I believe because it's popular. I believe what I believe because my conscience, bound by Christ, doesn't allow me to believe otherwise.
Oh, okay.
And that's really the takeaway, guys. If you're here and you're feeling discouraged fighting this woke right stuff, as many of us are, I've been there at times, of course, that's why I wrote this. Don't give up. Don't stop fighting. It's worth it. Your grandkids will thank you. Your kids will thank you. You can look at your kids and your grandkids and future generations with pride that you stood up for what's right, no matter what. That's what matters.
Wow.
All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Wow. Okay, so that's the only video, or the newest video I think this guy has on his channel. Well, that was very inspiring. I feel very I feel good that we are all, you know, fighting the woke right neo-Nazis on Twitter or whatever. Yep, that's his latest video. All right, well, let's get introduced to the neo-Nazi this guy is fighting. And let's find out who Joel is. Now, again, maybe, are there Joel fans in the chat right now? Let me know if you're a Joel fan. I literally have never listened to him before, so this will be my first time listening to him. But apparently this is the sermon that Mikale saw when he went to Joel's church to spy on him over the weekend. And so we're going to watch the sermon and we're going to see what this guy actually said, and we're going to see if he's really a woke right neo-Nazi or if he's just like a typical Christian. Has anyone watched Joel before? You guys know who he is? No Step on Snake is a Joel fan. You thought he was Matt Walsh? Yeah, he kind of does look like Matt Walsh, doesn't he? I hope he's better than Matt Walsh. I really don't like Matt Walsh. You're a Joel fan? Favorable opinion? All right. Well, we're gonna find out what the woke right neo-Nazis are saying. Let's get this party started. I haven't watched a sermon in a long time. This will be like, am I going to get smited for watching this?
Chapter 11, verses 7 through 15. Again, that's Matthew chapter 11, verse 7 through 15. I'll read us our text in its entirety. When I finish reading the text, I'm going to say, this is the word of the Lord, at which point I would appreciate very much if you would respond by saying, thanks be to God. One final time, our text for today is the Gospel according to Matthew chapter 11, verses 7 through 15. The Bible says this. As they went away, Jesus began to speak to the crowds concerning John. What did you go out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken by the wind?
By the way,
what?
By the way, you guys remember the Catholic priest that interviewed me, Father Mateague? He's bringing me on to interview me at least 2 more times. They want to talk to me about just stuff that's going on with like the Zoran stuff, and he wants to do a whole interview about that. And he's reading my Debunking the Communist Manifesto book. And so he wants to bring me on to talk about that as well. So Catholic priest W, man. The Catholic priest likes me. I didn't swear at all on his show last time. I was very appropriate. So I didn't get smited by talking to the priest. I actually had a great interview with him. So Catholic W.
Then did you go out to see a man dressed in soft clothing? Behold, those who wear soft clothing are in kings' houses. What then did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is he of whom it is written, behold, I send my messenger before your face, who will prepare your way before you. Truly I say to you, among those born of women, there has arisen no one greater than John the Baptist. Yet the one who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. From the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven has suffered violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. And if you are willing to accept it, he is Elijah, who is to come. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. This is the word of the Lord. All right, please be seated. Let's go ahead and dive in. By way of introduction, I've written the following. Christ, the great teacher of the church, takes this occasion to correct the people's misjudgment. He's speaking now to the people at large, correcting their misjudgment and misunderstanding. In their fickle hearts, they were ready to cast doubt on John's prophetic office, simply because he, like all men, had expressed a moment of weakness. But Christ, in his kindness and truth, reaffirms John's dignity, showing us that God's servants may waver in affliction, yet remain steadfast in calling. If you were with us last Lord's Day, we dealt with a text where John the Baptist sends his disciples to go and question Jesus. At that moment, John the Baptist is captured. He is imprisoned by King Herod. And he's awaiting what he probably knows is going to be his certain death. And we know that that is in fact what takes place, that he's beheaded. And as he's waiting for his execution, he sends his own disciples to go and to speak with Jesus and to question Jesus to confirm whether or not Jesus is in fact the Christ. In other words, what John the Baptist is doing in that moment is he is at some level pleading with the Lord Jesus for assurance, for affirmation. He wants to know that his own ministry as a precursor to the Christ, to the Messiah, has not been in vain. He wants to know that Jesus, in fact, is the promised Messiah. And Jesus answers the question. He doesn't rebuke John, but he actually answers John's questions. John is doubting in that moment, not disbelief, but doubt. He's wrestling with his faith, his ability by the Spirit to trust in Jesus. And so Jesus provides for him assurance, confirmation, affirmation, which is a gracious thing for Jesus to do. And John, in his humanity, infinitude, and at some level even perhaps his fallenness, is doubting because of his current tribulation. His life is now on the line. He realizes that he is probably at the very end of his race, and he wants to know that he has not run that race in vain. And so because John questions Jesus through his disciples, it's fitting that Jesus is now addressing this with his own hearers, many of them who were also disciples or followers, hearers of John the Baptist. He's saying, you've come to me to hear my teaching. And many of you are the same individuals who would go out into the wilderness to hear the teaching and preaching of John. And he's kind of restoring, in a sense, John's dignity. He's not apologizing for John. He's not sweeping any weakness of John under the rug. But he's saying that despite any weakness on John's part, his weakness does not invalidate the office of his ministry that the Lord appointed to him. He was a forerunner. He was a prophet, and I tell you, even more than a prophet.
Yeah, I'm going to be real blunt. People have egos. People should have egos. People have it. There is absolutely nothing wrong with having an ego. There's nothing wrong with having a healthy ego. There's nothing wrong with being powerful. There's nothing wrong with presenting confidently. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be seen in a certain way. And I kind of I really don't like this criticism when I hear from, and it's always from conservatives, by the way, and usually they have self-esteem issues, so no offense, but it's like, you're supposed to have an ego. You're not supposed to have an overinflated ego. You're supposed to, be able to accept feedback when it makes sense to do so. And by the way, accepting feedback doesn't mean you take feedback from anyone. It's retarded to take feedback from people who don't have your best interest at heart. But I don't know. You have to have an ego to get up in front of a room and say, I have something that I want to teach you. I have information, I have knowledge, I have wisdom. I'm going to teach you what I know. Literally no one would do that if they didn't have egos. You think I don't have an ego? Of course I have an ego. I know this is shocking information. When I say I know more about this than anyone else on the internet and I'm going to teach you what I know, that's an ego, right? But would I be teaching people about this stuff if I didn't have an ego? If I didn't believe that I had something worth saying? He probably wouldn't be a pastor if he didn't believe that he had knowledge that was worth sharing or wisdom that was worth sharing. And the reason he believes that is because of his ego.
He was a voice crying out in the wilderness, make way, make straight paths unto the Lord. He was a prophet. He was a man. We'll get to that here in a moment. Not just male, but masculine. And he was steadfast, not a reed that bends and breaks, but he was steadfast. He was consistent. He was unbending, uncompromising. So even in a moment of weakness and needing to reach out and to cry out to the Lord for assurance and confirmation that he had not, in fact, run his race in vain, even in that weakness, he did not break. Even in that weakness, he did not ultimately fail or compromise or sell out. He was not a reed bending back and forth. He was not a politician or a prince in kings' houses wearing soft clothing, malakoi, soft. But he really was indeed a masculine, unbending prophet who was appointed by God with a legitimate, valid office as a precursor in the spirit.
The reason we're watching this specifically is this is the sermon that the Babylon Bee was spying on, apparently.
Spirit of Elijah to prepare the way for me. And so Jesus restores his dignity, and even with his own hearers, it's all about Jesus. This is the same John the Baptist who previously said, he must increase. Speaking of Christ, I must decrease. So it's all about Jesus, and now here is Jesus who knows that it's all about him, and that the whole focal point of John the Baptist's ministry is that he would slowly decrescendo, and that Christ would crescendo and rise. My mom would be very proud of me to use those musical terms. She's not here this morning, but she'll listen to this and she'll probably cry. It was all worth it. John the Baptist didn't run his race in vain, and I didn't run my race in vain. All the piano lessons that I forced upon my son, they paid off. But this is Jesus who knows. He knows that John's purpose was to prepare the way for Christ, and that he was to fade out as Jesus is rising up. And yet Jesus still gives to John dignity. And part of it is his compassion and love for John. But part of it also is because his own, not in the objective sense, but in the subjective sense, his hearers and their perception of Christ, in the subjective sense, Jesus' ministry and his calling, his anointing as the Messiah, it is resting on John saying that it was so. And so Jesus is validating John and saying this moment of John questioning me is not a sign that he didn't finish the race well. He may have doubted, but he did not disbelieve. He may have questioned, but he ultimately did not bend or break. And he may have struggled at the end of his life, but he was still a hard man. He had grit. Grit's a good word. That's a word that I'd like to see come back around. He was masculine. He was not soft. He was not a soft man. And so this is what's going on. This is the context of our text today. The first point that I want to draw out of the text is this: ministers should be masculine. I think it's important that we see ministers should be masculine in at least two regards, as we've already seen from the text. That ministers of the gospel should not be as a reed bending, but they also should not be as a prince in king's houses, soft. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence. Obviously, you can have malakoi, soft, effeminate men in virtually every realm, in every vocation. Right? There's not like there's one vocation.
And now I'm understanding why Mikale might have a problem with this, because I'm sorry, like, maybe that video that we just watched from him was an aberration, but if that video we just watched from Mikale Olson was any indication, he is a very feminine man. And he's exactly the type of person that Joel is saying, you don't, this guy is not a preacher. This guy is not one of a leader. He's not a leader or whatever.
Or one category that has a monopoly on effeminate men. But I do find it significant. I don't think it's a mere coincidence that Jesus, as he says, what did you go out into the wilderness to see? A soft man wearing soft clothing? And then he could have said, no, you'll find those people in the markets. You know, he could have said that, right? Those are businessmen. That's where you'll find them. Or he could have said, no, you'll find, you want a soft man in soft clothing, you'll find him over here, you'll find him over there. He could have named, listed any vocation, any realm, any category, but he lists the political. You want to find a soft man wearing soft clothing, then look to politicians.
Yeah, real.
That's where you'll find them.
Real.
Where do you find them? In D.C., in king's houses. You find them at the courthouse. You find them at the palace. You find them in Congress. That's where you find them. You don't find them in the wilderness wearing camel skin and eating bugs. Right? That's not where you find soft men. That's where you find hard men. You want to find a masculine man? Then go off the beaten path. Do you want to find an effeminate man? Then look to the chief seats. Look to the places of honor. Because soft men will always find themselves clamoring and clawing and clinging to places of honor.
Listen, man, that is just true. This guy, and again, I'm not a Christian. I don't care if you're a Christian. I'm not a Christian. But, like, he's just speaking truth. You, like, how many soft men or politicians that are basically rolling over to get fucked by Israel? Who was like this? Mike Johnson just posted the video where all the freshman senator or congressmen or whatever went to Israel for the first time. It's like, you think they're not getting bent over and fucked? Of course they're getting bent over and fucked. Probably both figuratively and literally.
So Jesus mentions both of these aspects. Says John the Baptist is not a reed. And in that sense, he is masculine.
It's not going to happen.
He's not a reed. He's not bending. And he's also not soft.
Adam Green would be so upset with me if I became a Christian. Can't do it. Can't upset the Viking. Can't do it. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. Nerd2, thanks for the super chat. I saw this morning the LP National Twitter account tweeted out communist anti-intellectual property rights talking points. I'm not even Nerd2. I'm not even paying attention to the libertarians right now. The libertarians have failed on like every single level. It's not even funny. I don't want to think about libertarian politics ever again. I'm retired from libertarian politics. I'm a fascist now. The libertarians failed me. I had to go to fascism. It was just, I couldn't help it.
Wearing soft clothing, but rather he's in the wilderness. He has grit. Okay, I've written this. A reed easily moved by the wind symbolizes a man lacking firmness or conviction. But John was no such man. True ministers of the word must not be carried about by the changing winds of public opinion, but rather must stand firm. Likewise, John's rugged austerity directly contrasts with the soft attire of those who dwell in kings' houses. His camel's hair garments and wilderness dwelling were outward signs of inward grit. True ministers of the word must be masculine, not merely male. I'll come back to that in a moment.
Ooh, I like that.
They are called to labor diligently, often in hardship.
Men are
so it's not just for the sake of appearance. There's a purpose for this criteria. Why is it that ministers of the word should be male, and that we should assume that included in that criteria of maleness, that necessarily also speaks to a masculine maleness? Not just in a strictly biologically, I guess technically the guy is a guy. It's not just that he's...
And by the way, I know it probably seems like I'm taking Joel's side on this because I really do not like the Babylon Bee and I think they're intellectually dishonest retards. I don't think Joel would like me. I don't think Joel would be a fan of mine. Let's just be very clear about this. I am a masculine woman running my mouth on the internet. I have very masculine energy. I am not like a little frilly girl like showing my boobs off and all that. Like, there is no universe in which he's going to like me either. Which is fine. Not everyone needs to like me, but I just want to be very clear about that. Like, he obviously is one of these people that's like, you know, men should be leading everything. And, you know, I mean, listen, my position on that is that I think that if men wanted to lead things, they should just do it. I don't think that men should be like, if men aren't going to do anything about it, if men are just going to be fucking around on Twitter all day and they're not actually going to focus on solving real problems, like, no one is preventing the men from leading right now. This is kind of my problem with, like, all the, like, pro-man stuff on Twitter. It's like, they're like, you should go back to the kitchen and let us lead. Okay, well, what's stopping you from leading right now? Literally, what's stopping you? What's stopping you from going out and solving a problem? What's stopping you from going out and building a building? What's stopping you from, you know, doing whatever you want to do to create the world that you want? There's literally nothing stopping you. I am not stopping you. I'm not preventing. Just because I have a YouTube channel doesn't mean you can't go and do something. So if you're not going to go and do something, shut the fuck up. And stop complaining if people actually go try to do something. It's like, how many times have I said, I would love for someone else to do what I'm doing, so I didn't feel like I had to do it. Part of the reason that I do this is there's no one else doing what I'm doing. There's literally no one. So do any men want to step up and watch over 5,000 hours of socialism in the last 5 years and teach people about it on the internet? Does any man want to step up and do this? No? Then shut the fuck up. Honestly.
He must be masculine. And this is not capricious, it's not arbitrary, this criteria that the Lord gives. The reason for it, the purpose for it, is because ministers at times will be under fire. And so they have to be able to have resolve. They have to be able to withstand hardship and opposition for the glory of God and the good of the church. So that's the first thing that we see. As Jesus is speaking to the crowd, he's reaffirming the dignity of John. One, in compassion for John himself, I believe. But secondly, insofar as not just John the man, who struggled, at least at some degree, in his final moments of life, but not just reaffirming John's dignity for his own personhood in compassion, but also reaffirming John's ministry. Not just his person, but his office, and what that means, its significance for Christ, who comes as the one who is after John, who John was preparing the way for. So this is what Jesus is doing. He's reaffirming John the man, and he's also confirming John the prophet, his office, in order to further validate himself that he is indeed the Messiah and the Christ. And in doing so, he uses at least two criteria to say, no, John was authentic.
Bro.
John was...
No. Let me clue you into this. Let me clue you in. If a woman refuses to submit, it's because you're not stepping up and being a leader. Don't blame women because you are not stepping up and being a leader. If you aren't doing what you should be doing and acting like the fucking man, then you have to expect that they are not going to do what you want them to do, which is to submit to you. When men actually step up and act like leaders, I promise you, it is very, very easy to submit to them. And I say that as an extremely strong woman, that there's no universe that I'm going to submit to someone that doesn't actually deserve it. But if someone comes along that does deserve it, it is very, very easy to say, all right, you go, you do it.
Legitimate. John was a man. He was a prophet. He was not a reed.
No. This is I already know you're a beta cuck. Let me just be honest with you. This is what beta cucks say. It's all the women's fault. It's not our fault at all. We're not doing anything. Just because we're sitting around playing fucking video games and not doing shit with our lives and complaining on YouTube and Twitter all day, that doesn't mean we aren't real men. Yes, it does actually mean you're not a real man. Yeah, it does. You want women to submit to you? Act like a real fucking man. And if you're not willing to do that, stop blaming women. It's your fucking fault. You want the responsibility of a leader? That's what that is. It's taking responsibility for everything. It's not trying to pass the buck onto someone else because you refuse to do what's required. Dodging responsibility, trying to scapegoat other people. How fucking Jewish.
Uncompromising. And he was not a politician. He was not soft. He was not merely male, but masculine. And he was not compromising, but resolute. The second point, as I see it in the text today, that I hope by God's grace to draw out for you, is this: the greatness of John and the privilege for us. Jesus, he affirms that there was indeed a unique greatness that John possessed. But he doesn't just leave it with John, but then he further fleshes out that John's greatness was significant, it was high, it was lofty, it was respectable, and yet it pales in comparison to the least.
Where's the neo-Nazis? I was
in the
expecting talk of
kingdom
Hitler
of
and
heaven.
stuff.
So John, in fact, really did possess a greatness. And yet John's greatness means for us not an insubordinate, lesser gift that we receive, but if anything, an even greater privilege that we have today. The text says this: truly I say to you, among those born of women, there has arisen no one greater than John the Baptist. Yet the one who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. In your notes, I've written this: Christ declares that no man born of women.
Like, I mean, seriously though, like, imagine coming into like any chat or room or anything like that and saying, it's women's fault that I can't be a leader, and like literally whining that it's the woman's fault that you can't be a leader. No, it's your fault. And the fact that you're whining about it just proves the point. Because real men don't need permission from anyone to step up and lead. Real leaders don't need permission from anyone to step up and lead. In fact, they're going to do it regardless of what people say. So no one is preventing you from acting like a real man. No one is preventing you from acting like a leader. See, still whining in the chat. Literally still whining in the fucking chat. Do you know what a real man would do? He wouldn't be, how dare you go, you are so mean to me because you're calling me. You obviously are a beta, bro. I could dominate you without even fucking trying. That's how much of a loser you are. My God. In fact, you know what? I'm sorry, I don't allow weak men in my chat. Why don't you go take a 5-minute timeout and think about it? And if you want to come back and act like a real man, then you'll be welcome back in 5 minutes.
Namely, those who are born according to natural birth, physical birth, that none were greater than John. His greatness is not, what's not in reference here, his greatness is not moral perfection. Because we see the weakness of John in the immediate prior text, where he's questioning the legitimacy, validity of Christ. So this greatness of John is not in reference to his own moral perfection, but his ministerial privilege. He's great because he stood closer to Christ than any prophet who came before him. John's greatness is measured by the clarity of revelation granted to him and his role in introducing the Messiah to the world. Yet Christ declares that even the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than John. This does not mean that the believer, for us today, exceeds John in personal piety, meaning holiness, but rather in positional privilege. It is not that believers today exceed John in personal piety, but rather positional privilege. The smallest believer today enjoys a clearer view of God's grace than even John ever did. In other words, the principle that we can find is this: greater grace means greater responsibility. With great grace comes great responsibility. The greater of God's revelation, which is, and you have to understand this, God's revelation to man is always grace. He is not obligated to reveal anything to us. The fact that God has spoken to his people is grace. The fact that God came, God himself, the Son of God, in the incarnation and took on flesh and tabernacled among us, dwelt among us, and revealed himself to us is grace. And the greater God's revelation, and all God's revelation is a gracious revelation, the greater God's revelation to us, the greater moral responsibility we have to live in light of that revelation. The person who has received nothing, no word from God, no revelation from God, it will be required of him in terms of his moral obligation, his life's response, there will be a lower bar for him. Now, you have to be careful with this theologically. Some have gone so far as to say, well, those who have never heard the preaching of Christ at all, who have never received a single page from the scripture, or some tribe in the deep, dark jungles of the Amazon where no missionary has ever gone, no verse of the Bible has ever reached, that of them there would be zero requirement. But that's not true. We know that's not true from the scripture. We know from Romans.
Okay, I'm not seeing a whole lot of neo-Nazi right now. And so what I want to do is I want to go to Joel's. I want to go watch another video from Joel's channel. Because I'm just not getting the woke right neo-Nazi that I was expecting. So let's go to another video, because Joel recently did a video where he was talking about Nick Fuentes. And so maybe Joel will be more of a neo-Nazi and a woke right, like whatever, if he's talking about Nick. So let's see what he had to say about Nick.
Resurrection Design Co. Super Chat, $20. Thanks so much. Hey, RRM, been listening to Fuentes of late, many such cases, because he's been right about a lot and is saying what needs to be said. He is slandered a lot, and I think it would be cool if more people got the chance to hear him speak for himself.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was building up to is, okay, so what's happening? What's the phenomenon here? Because it is palpable. Anybody who says it's not, is like, you're just not being honest. Nick Fuentes is making a comeback into the mainstream conversation.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that he's like going to be on CNN anytime, but like,
he is. They play his clips already, so it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Long
so
time,
he literally has been. But what I'm saying is that individual personalities may not invite him on the show because of his tactic of calling those guys out by name. And there's not many people that he hasn't called out by name, so there's not that many platforms left. But you're not going to get rid of him. And the reason I think there's so like, how do you explain it? Because I like to, I'm a student of culture and like what's going on here, and it's fascinating, to ask these questions. So I think one is simply the age of cancel culture is over, right? Like the woke cancel culture kind of thing, they had their high watermark and it's over. And a guy like Nick, the only way that you can really, I think, successfully get rid of him is you have to deplatform him. You have to.
Yep.
Because if he's allowed to speak, if he's allowed to speak, he's going to win. That doesn't mean he's going to win everybody. There'll be plenty of people listening to this and be like, what? He's not going to win. He's a Fed. He's this, he's that. Well, let me say it like this. It's not just he's going to win. He's winning.
Okay.
And you may just not have admitted.
I will say this. First impressions, I like Joel a lot more in this format than I like him as a preacher. I feel like he's more, and I understand it. I used to do keynote talks, and I understand that, like, when you get up on the stage to do, like, a talk, which I'm going to equate to him preaching, like, when I did keynote talks and I had to be in front of, like, a big audience, you put on a little bit of, like, you've got a little extra, like, gravitas, or you try to have a little extra gravitas, because you're leading an entire room of people. Like, if you've never stood up in front of a room of 1,000 people and given a speech, give it a try sometime. You can't be timid if you're standing in front of a room of 1,000 people giving a speech, right? So I understand why he might have a little bit of a different energy in like this, which is like a more casual vibe where they're having a conversation. than he does as a preacher. I like him more like this.
Did it yet, and that's perfectly fine. Like you have your reasons, whatever, and I'm not going to insinuate, interior motives for why people might feel that way. But the facts still exist. I had not listened to anything from Nick Fuentes once, not even a clip, nothing, until about 6 months ago. And 6 months ago, I started listening because people that I trust, right, not just somebody who's off in left field, but people that I trust started sending me clips. And why did they start looking at these clips? Because all of a sudden he's on TikTok and he's on Instagram and he's let back on Twitter and the clips go viral on Twitter. Like for a while there, it's like he couldn't be on any platform. He's still not allowed to be on YouTube, or at least his personal channel. I think he's gone as a guest on other people's channels and YouTube has allowed it. But I think as the suppression of free speech continues to dissipate, you're not going to be able to get rid of them. You're not. And so then you can't just use the tactics of, well, he said this in this one clip, because now people are going to listen for themselves. And so now that people are listening for themselves, there may be something he said 7 years ago that's just like, whoa, oh my gosh, I don't agree with that. I have some massive problems with that. I even may find it morally reprehensible. But now he's back on the platforms. He has a voice again. And it's not just,
do we really want to live in a world where people can't make spicy jokes and try to push the envelope? This is part of the reason that, listen, I talk about being a fascist. Do I really consider myself to be a fascist? No, not really. I mean, in my heart of hearts, I'm like a libertarian, for real. I just don't really care. Just leave me alone. And, I'm going to have guns to protect my land and stuff like that. But do I want to be some sort of fascist dictator? No, I don't give a fuck. But, I'll joke and say I'm a fascist. I am serious about banning queer books. I am serious about banning books and burning books and stuff like that. I'm actually 100% serious about that. But, listen, if the worst thing I do as the fascist dictator of the United States is burn queer books, doesn't everyone think that's okay? Can't we sacrifice the queer books that are screwing up all the kids and pushing them into this crazy far left political ideology that has nothing to do with being gay or trans? I don't care if people are gay. If you want to be gay, go be gay. Just don't hurt anyone and don't molest kids and stuff like that. I don't care if you're trans. If you're trans, go live your life. I hope you're very happy. It's none of my business. But I think we can all get on board with burning queer books, right? Because it's not about being gay. It's not about being trans. It's not about anything good at all. It's about a far left political ideology that is going to destroy everything. And I just don't think we should be allowing that publication. If that makes me a fascist, then so be it. But I should be allowed to joke and say I'm a fascist on the internet. I got a video banned on TikTok yesterday for me making a joke about fascism. I can't even make a joke.
Two factors. One, suppression of free speech is lessening greatly. Number two, three factors actually. Number two, the Overton window is moving right. Things that sounded crazy 5 years ago sound a lot less crazy today. And then the third one is, I really do, and again, I'm not watching every show, and I don't watch everything from anybody. But guys have shown me clips, some of the recent clips that have gone viral, and at least from those, I can't speak overall, but from those, it's quite clear that not that Nick is moving left, not that he's changed on his positions, but in terms of his optic, in terms of his presentation,
he's grown up.
He's not compromising his former views. But he is cleaning up, I think.
He's growing up. Nick started doing commentary on the internet when he was 18 years old. Nick is only 26 years old now. He's growing up. What a concept. When you grow up, you look at things differently, you do things differently, you maybe don't act like a child all the time.
And what I mean by that is, some of the clips where he's like, look, we want to be a legitimate operation, and so we can't say this word anymore. He's like, we're not going to say this word anymore.
The bar is high, but
because we want to be taken seriously. It's clear to me that he now plenty of people would say, well, if you want to be taken seriously, maybe don't call Tucker Carlson a spy, and maybe so, maybe not. But the point is, you may not think he's taking the steps that you would take to clean up. But I don't think that any debate can be had that he is taking some steps. They may not be all the steps that you would want to see or whatever your requirements would be, but he is actively regular. It's not just one or two clips. It's like every week there's something where he's like, I saw one the other day that someone sent to me where he's like, you think that you're going to win the West because you're white? You're not. Your whiteness is not enough. It has to be Christ. You need Christ. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't care who says that. I like it.
Right.
Because I'm a Christian and I love Christ. And, you know, like I think of like Jesus when he says to the disciples, he's like, if they're not.
Bro, Nick hosts a talk show. He's not a politician. I don't expect Nick to have political successes. He's not a politician. He hosts a talk show on the internet, a very successful talk show that has a lot of influence culturally.
Against us, then they're with us, you know, and that's what I mean by these larger categories of there is a co-belligerent category. Co-belligerent, again, does not mean this guy's an elder in my church,
right?
Because distinctions matter. And we're not saying they're insignificant, right? The distinctions between Catholics and Protestants, like the reason we're divided is because those distinctions are significant. But in terms of co-belligerence, there is a different calculus when it comes to that. And I think even Jesus acknowledged that by saying, whoever's not against us is for us. You know, so don't stop them wherever they're saying the truth. Paul has the same kind of concept where he says, you know, people are like, hey, you know, people are preaching Christ while you're in prison, Paul, just to spite you. And Paul says, well, regardless of their motives, I thank God that Christ is being preached.
Yeah.
Like, so Paul even says, even if people are preaching Christ sarcastically, even if people are preaching Christ while not believing in Christ sarcastically, even that is W's in the chat. And I don't think, I think Nick actually believes in Christ. I don't think he's doing it facetiously or sarcastically. So I think one is, the speech suppression has stopped. He's back on the platforms. 2, the Overton window has moved. And 3, there's all these clips of, we're not going to say this anymore because we want to clean up, or being white is not enough. You got to have Christ. Or there was another clip that I saw that somebody sent me where he's like, you want to make a difference? And I thought it was insightful. He encourages these young, he basically essentially said, you want to make a difference and I want you to make a difference. We need you to make a difference. So here's my counsel. Don't be me. You can't afford to be me. We can't afford to have everybody on our team unemployed and unable to open a bank account. Don't be me. Go into your local GOP chapter.
Yeah.
Keep your head down. Be respectful. Bide your time. And eventually you'll be in charge. And like encouraging young men to play, like I'm just saying that may have always been his position. Because again, I was not watching Nick Fuentes 7 years ago or even 7 months ago. This is a recent, you know, he's recently come into my orbit, as other guys in my orbit have shared some things. But I'm just saying that seems, at least from the rumors that I heard from years ago, that seems like a different calculus. Not so much I've sold out and I've changed my positions, but in terms of tactics. There's a difference between positions and disposition. And it seems like his disposition is just, he's older now, right? He's 26, right. He's not 17, right? That changes a man. Like he's growing up a little bit, cleaning up a little bit. Plus, he's allowed back on social media platforms and the whole world has moved right with the Overton window in just, I mean, every month, it seems like. Right. So my point is, he's not going away. And anybody who just, you know, thinks he's going away, I hate to disappoint you, but I don't think that guy's going away anytime soon. And one of the biggest things he has on his side, here's the last thing I'll say, he's 26. Here's the thing, you think like, oh, he's a joke and blah, 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 and like, oh, he's irrelevant. There are millions of young men who are following him. And you want to win the culture, win the hearts of the young men. And he has young men that he has won. Like nobody, I mean, even Daryl Cooper, you know, on Twitter.
I mean, that is one of the things about Nick is like, you know, listen, I can have as many problems as I want with the Groypers, but the Groypers love Nick. Nick is their guy. Nick is their voice. Nick says this on his show. I am your voice. Nick is the person that says the things that they want to say, that they wish they could say if they wouldn't lose their jobs for saying it. They love him. It doesn't matter what he does. It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, like there is nothing. And you know what you have to say when someone is able to build a following like that of people that genuinely love him. No, bro, you just got banned in my chat. This is not true. I went to AFPAC. This is some bullshit rumor that you fucking morons start. Goodbye. Go try to gaslight people somewhere else. I don't remember where else I was going with that, but
Twitter, a couple weeks ago, said something about Nick, and Nick said, thank you. And immediately, his comment of thank you on Twitter ratioed Daryl Cooper's original post. And then Daryl Cooper took a screenshot of it and shared it. And he said, say what you will about Nick, but the dude has the most committed following ever. It's pretty rare for me to get ratioed by a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like a 10x ratio, like it was nothing small. So the guy's not going away. He does have power and influence with young men, and all these young men, you can sit there and say, well, these young men live in their mother's basements and so.
Oh, the other thing I was going to say, what did people think was going to happen when Jordan Peterson completely started shitting on all the people that were following him for years? There was a complete vacuum. This is my perception anyway. People might disagree. There was a complete vacuum in leadership for young men after Jordan Peterson went fuck off insane from being on benzos for too long. And no one stepped into that void. And so I think that there was always the opportunity for someone to step up and do it. And Nick is the person that resonated. And I think there's a reason that Nick resonated when people like Charlie Kirk didn't resonate as much, or, any of the influencers that they tried to push at any of the shill organizations. There was a reason that Nick rose up. And the reason is that Nick is actually an authentic person that believes the things that he says. And I think that people, I don't know about you guys, and maybe this is just because I live and breathe this stuff all day, every day. Maybe other people don't see it this way. I was looking at Twitter earlier today, and I was just like, my eyes could not have rolled back farther in my head looking at the timeline, because every single tweet I was served, almost every single one, was narrative shill talking point, narrative shill talking point, narrative shill talking point, narrative shill talking point. There was literally not one authentic person in my Twitter feed. And it's not as though I don't follow and interact with authentic people. I do my best to only interact with the people that I actually want to see on my timeline, because I understand how the algorithm works. And even still, I'm just fed all of these narrative shill accounts, and it's just, I'm looking at this and I'm like, everything is fake and gay. And I think that once you're in this space for a while, and maybe even, before I did, but you start to see after a while where it's just you can sniff out authenticity, and even easier than that is sniffing out the people who are not authentic. And I think it's very easy to understand that you might not agree with everything that Nick says, but Nick actually does authentically believe the things that he says. And that alone by itself sets him apart from every other person.
Well, number one, I don't think that's entirely true. For those that it is true, here's the thing about young men. Eventually they grow up. So these young men may not seem powerful now. Right now, it may just be their anon accounts and sheer numbers and just volume loud on social media. But 20 years from now, it'd be one thing if Nick was, 75 years old. He's 26. Mm-hmm. So barring an assassination or some kind of tragedy, he's got 50 years of potential relevancy. And all of his following is pretty much 26. And they've got 50 years. Some of these guys will be CEOs. Some of these guys will be politicians. Some of them already are, and so, yeah, I think that you're going to have to engage with Nick in terms of sheer influence, position, and relevance. Yeah. That doesn't mean that you have to, some guys will like him, some guys won't. Some guys will be co-belligerents, some guys will be brothers, some guys will be enemies. But you're the prior strategy of just close your eyes and don't say his name and maybe people will forget about that.
They had their shot.
They had their shot. It didn't work. That's done. So, all right. No, those are my thoughts on that. Andrew Cox, he writes in $10, said, Have you guys considered, okay, this is another question kind of in that same vein. Have you considered working with the guys at American Mantle, Michael Spangler and Cody?
Okay, I don't know anything about that. Listen, I'm not seeing a whole lot of neo-Nazi, if I'm being honest about it. I watched 2 Joel videos. One of that, he could have been a neo-Nazi in either of those videos. I'm not seeing any neo-Nazi. Where's the neo-Nazi? I was ready for something controversial. I was even wondering, like, should I even stream this on YouTube? Because apparently I'm going to be watching the most right-wing, horrible, woke right neo-Nazi on the platform. I'm just not seeing any neo-Nazi. I'm seeing a guy that he seems to be kind of like a traditional-minded evangelical Christian who didn't really say anything controversial on any of the videos that I saw. I mean, granted, I only watched a couple minutes of each, but there was nothing I'm not seeing someone that I consider to be dangerous. Like, everything that he said about Nick was actually perfectly reasonable. There was nothing hateful about it. Maybe he has some debates with other people where he says spicy things that I'll probably disagree with. I probably disagree with his position on women. I don't actually really care that much, though. Has Mikale updated again? Let's see if he's posted anything else. Let's see if we have a woke right update. A Babylon Bee woke right update. He has James as his pinned tweet. Bruh. You hit a nerve. Oh, wait, there is an update. There is. Oh, shit, he's been tweeting all over the place. Oh, Carrie's getting involved? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. All right, what is he tweeting about? Let's see. Here's Joel calling me demonic for checks notes visiting his church as he falsely accuses me of being sent by the Babylon Bee. Bro, you were the one that said you were the journalist going to his church. The retard squad. Yeah, that's what we should call them. I don't know that I would say he's being demonic, but like he's certainly being obsessive. That's certainly true. I didn't trash any members. I actually said in a previous tweet, I'm sure there's a lot of good people there who are just naive in that they submit themselves to Joel's leadership. What is he accusing Joel of doing exactly? Wait. Carrie's tweeting about how this is a cult? Yo, Carrie Smith is calling someone else a cult leader? Imagine my shock. Carrie Smith called me a cult leader for 2 years. It's one of the reasons the show is named what it is. What does Carrie have to say about Joel? Let's see. Yes, Carrie is being a good comrade and acting in solidarity with Mikale because they have to, help and support each other. Oh, that's not what you wrote. You didn't write that at all. I totally misread it. Whatever. Joel is saying stuff, guys. He is saying stuff. Wait! Carrie went to the church too? So Mikale was going to Austin to visit Carrie, and they went to the church together. Because now that this is a scandal on the internet, Carrie's got to be involved. She's like, why am I not getting any credit to going to the church? Holy shit, Carrie went to the church too to stalk the woke right guy. Wow. We went to see if it's as alarming in person as it is online and what the atmosphere is like there, but spread lies, whatever lies you want about motive. I know 3 families who have left that cult. And several who are concerned for some of the wives and children there. Well, Carrie also tells people, guys, do you remember when Carrie used to say, I swear I have screenshots of this somewhere. Carrie used to tell people that people left my cult and they would go to Carrie for counseling on leaving my cult after being abused. I swear to God. Does anyone remember this? When Carrie was running around telling people that people left my cult and then went to Carrie for counseling about leaving my cult? I swear to God. This is all deeply familiar to me. I have screenshots of all of this. You can find it on survivingcarrysmith.substack.com. I wonder if I can actually find that. Hang on. I don't even know where it would be. But, like, I absolutely, yeah, you remember this? Judy was around back in the day. Yep. So apparently everyone who leaves a cult finds Carrie Smith on the internet, and it just happens to be people that Carrie doesn't like who are running the cult. I know 3 families who have left that cult and several who are concerned for some of the wives and children there. I went to judge it for myself. Joel's purposeful lack of introspection about being a false shepherd is something that can already be observed from the online sermons. If you want to get a sense for what the congregation is like, and if they are as dark about him, you have to go in person. And this person says, this is slander. And then Carrie says, yes, the pastor is very slanderous. Oh, shit. Then this person says, you guys are literally admitting to going and stalking a church. And Carrie says, Joel is a false shepherd. So I went primarily to observe, which is my right. You can scold me for it, like a woman, but I'm glad I went. I also worshipped in part, and I don't believe even someone as dark as Joel is can prevent him sung in sincere joy to God. And I believe some in his congregation are sincere. I also went to my own church afterwards. Per usual, I had the benefit of going to a church that meets at 2 p.m., so I get to visit other churches whenever I like. As a reminder, Carrie Smith is she's actually in a cult church, and the reason I know about this is she was tweeting about it at the time, where if Carrie doesn't follow certain rules, she'll get excommunicated from the church, allegedly. Wow. I had no idea Carrie went to the church. What's she tweeting about? What is she tweeting about? Let's see. Candace Owens. Okay. The woke right. The fuck? She's retweeting James. Oh my god, what the fuck is this? What is this? Oh. I'm starting a woke right ministry. Ladies of Twitter, I'd like to talk to your husband or... Wow, what the fuck, Carrie? Could this be any more of an attention grab? Wow. All right, well, Carrie's defending Mikale because they're friends and they went to the church together. They did a podcast about it? That was what that was about? Wait. I listened to your podcast about the visit and nothing the two of you said shouted hate or slander? Seriously. We've got some time before the ACLU stream. Seriously, they did a podcast about this? Hang on. Did they actually talk about going to the church?
A note to all the leftists.
There it is. Streamed 3 days ago. She actually interviewed him in the house. Okay, we have to watch a minute of it. Guys, pause. Dang it. Guys, as a reminder, we have we don't actually have that long. In about 25 minutes, we are going to be transitioning over to doing Spy Stream because we have a live ACLU training to watch tonight. So we are going to be doing something productive. We're just kind of killing time up until we start our Spy Stream. So I want to see a little bit of what Carrie and this guy talked about after they went to spy on a fucking church. So we'll just see. But we are going to be doing something productive in about 25 minutes. So if you don't like this, come back then.
Deprogram with Carrie Smith. This is only the second one I've done, and if I see some...
By the way, and I wasn't going to bring this up, because I don't think comments about people's bodies are necessarily appropriate. But since Carrie has called me fat and insulted my looks so many times over the years, I just want to point out, Carrie's gaining weight. Carrie is getting fat. I have noticed this across several photos now that I've seen of her floating around. And so I just want to point that out, Carrie. You better be careful because you call other people fat on the internet all the time. And wouldn't it be a shame, Carrie, if people on the internet, Carrie, started pointing out the fact that you're obviously and clearly gaining weight, Carrie? I'm just saying. Karma, Carrie. Karma's coming, and it's attaching itself right to your ass, Carrie. Carrie, you're literally wearing a muumuu. You're wearing a muumuu. We can all see it.
Regulars in the chat, you know that I'm not... I don't think any of you would say that I'm tech savvy. So it's a miracle that we're here today.
Yeah, right.
We did it. Please let us know. Just my husband's looking at the comments. Let us know in the chat how it sounds and if we need to make any fixes. How are the microphones? Hey, what's up? Isaiah Carter's here. Good to see you. Do you know him? Here.
Hang on. We're just going to fast forward.
Yeah. Starting place.
Right. Yeah.
Welcome to my haunted house, by the way. That's where he walked in. We didn't even have time for the house.
I want to hear about the church.
Christian Post writing specifically.
I just want to hear about the church. Don't care.
Actually, another way to say critical consciousness or critical theory. And the tactics are left. They're claiming to be right-wing. They act like leftists. So right-wing people acting like...
Okay, they're talking about the woke right.
They have leftist beliefs and leftist behaviors and tactics.
Which they try to say they don't have leftist beliefs, but you can't have leftist tactics and not also be adopting at some level the belief system or the underlying precept.
You can't use leftist tactics without becoming a leftist. Well, that comes directly from James.
Positions to those tactics.
Yes.
So, but they tried to skirt around that, but I don't think they're doing a very good
Some
job.
of the leftist tactics, I've seen them endorse. And if you guys are not on X very much, you may not have seen this, but some of the ones who claim to be Christian and claim to be on the right, they endorse Machiavellianism. They come right out and say, we need to be more Machiavellian, like we need to be more manipulative and dishonest, and we need to
ends justify the means.
The ends justify the means. We need to disguise that we want power by any means necessary.
I absolutely want power to stop communism in the United States by any means necessary. Yes, I do. 100%.
They're essentially admitting that they're liars.
Yeah.
And then they also are telling us that we should trust them. Like, why would I trust if anyone that says they're Machiavellian?
Wow.
I now have a reason to not trust anything they say.
Right.
They're going to say anything that's going to be convenient for them or for their political goal. And it's so dishonest from the top down.
So as a Christian, explain how you've seen this enter the church. Have you seen it enter the church?
Yeah.
And how does it compare to woke left entering the church?
They're doing
I think it's similar.
about this.
I think so. Both extremes politically, and you see this in the 20th century with, Germany's push for fascism and the Third Reich and all of that stuff, Nazism. They played, and I wrote an article about this a little bit, talking a little bit about this for Christian Post, where they kind of played off of the rightful fears people had, communism and Marxism that was growing in Eastern Europe at the time under the Soviet Union, and they provoked those fears and said the way to solve this problem. So
guys, you know how we need to fight the communists, according to Carrie Smith and Mikale here from the Babylon Bee. We need to be fair and nice to the communists, and we can't use any Machiavellian tactics, and we can't use strategy, and we can't use any leftist tactics either, because God knows the left, they've had a lot of success for a reason, but God forbid we use their tactics against them, because that would make us leftists if we use their tactics. What we really need to do to fight communism, guys, is we need to be fair and we need to be nice to communists. It's a great plan. Nothing could go wrong with this plan, guys. If we are just fair and nice to the communists, that will solve literally everything.
We don't get overrun by communism is this extreme over here. Fascism is Nazism and things like that. So they always prey off of fear, and it's usually a legitimate fear.
Yeah.
But then the solution they offer is an equally opposite extreme that's going to be just as detrimental as the thing that they say they're trying to save you from. And so I think that's, fast forwarding now, that's exactly, I think, what's going on with the woke right, especially in Christian circles. A lot of Christians are rightfully upset about the left.
I've often wondered about this. Carrie was one of the first people to interview Christina Buttons back in 2022 after she left the left. Isn't it weird how Carrie is literally always involved? Always involved. Why is she always involved? She doesn't have anything interesting to say. She's not exactly relevant. Why is she literally always involved when stuff like this is happening?
The whole big EVA thing within institutions like the SBC or Acts 29 or Gospel Coalition or Christianity Today, all these big, even like the PCA, different places where they've been overcome in many ways by leftism. And these woke right people like Joel Webbon and Stephen Wolf and all these guys played off of that fear and then tried to funnel people into their, other dialectic, you could say, the equal opposite extreme.
The equal and opposite extreme.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were kind of woke lefty pastors before.
Yeah.
They were lefty.
So like Joel Webbon was. He was like, he was pro lockdowns at one point, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
He was pro lockdown.
Yeah, he was Acts 29. Yeah.
The Vineyard Church
Yep.
and, the hippie kind of
Yeah.
youth pastor sort of.
And a lot of these guys have been all over the place. And I think that's partially what fuels their anger or resentment or their push against these.
Did Joel seem angry at all? I did not get angry vibe from him, if I'm being honest.
Big Christian institutions that have been around for a while. It's not even that they necessarily disagree with the underlying ideology, because they're now openly embracing critical theory, the very thing that they were accusing the Gospel Coalition and Tim Keller and all these people of embracing. So it's like, okay, you really didn't actually disagree with them. I think they're just jealous. I think that they wanted to be these people. They wanted to be running this, like even like Eric.
Hey, Carrie, because I know she's going to watch this at some point. Carrie, just so you know, this is a really regrettable photo for you to put on the internet, because as you continue to gain weight, Carrie, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I have saved this picture. And if you cause me any problems as you continue to gain weight, because it's obvious to me you are gaining weight, this is going to become a really unfortunate picture for you to have put on the internet. And I'm just saying that maybe I'll put the picture in the chat, and maybe some people want to make memes with the picture. I mean, the ice cream does look good. I'm just saying that Carrie is obviously gaining weight, and if we ever need a picture that we could make a meme with, this might be a picture we can make a meme with. Yeah, make calories great again, Carrie. Indeed. Oh shit, sound went out.
He's a former SBC guy. Most of these people were in Acts 29 or the Southern Baptist Convention or one of these institutions at one point. And it's like they were trying to scale the ladder, and Big Eva cut the ladder out from up. Now they're upset and angry, and they're pushing these other. So I think that's where a lot of it comes from.
Why do you think the extremes do well online, whether it's left or woke right?
I think because it's simple and people don't have to think. And most people, especially in today's day and age, we're just so obsessed with short-term, like very short content that's not actually going to push you to think about anything. And they want immediate solutions to problems. And I don't know. I think it has a lot to do with that. Maybe it's just part of human nature. We're sinful in our nature. We want things our way. We are like hell bent towards revenge and all this stuff towards other people when we're wronged. I mean, that's just anybody that's a human has that capability, of course.
That Adam nature.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think and these extreme movements overly simplify anything, and they make it seem like it's a real solution, whatever they're proposing, and then they prey on that sinful nature of yours, and then get you to even think that maybe that sinful nature is actually a good thing, like that your desire for revenge is actually a good thing, and the other side deserves it.
I've seen them online.
Like we're gonna crush our enemies, like
Yes,
this kind of stuff.
Crush our enemies. I've seen them outright do close to manifestos, Twitter manifestos about the benefits of revenge, and how if you don't want revenge, and if you're not willing to extract revenge, there's something wrong with you. And it's like, well,
it's all resentment. It's just all. I think that's their primary motivation is fear and resentment. They're scared
These people are so
of persecution.
retarded.
They're scared of not having power because if they don't have power, then they're not in control. And if they're not in control, then they could be ostracized or persecuted, whether it's politically or religiously. They're scared of just people interfering with their lives in different ways, which again, all those fears are legitimate to some degree. I understand them, but it just shows that they're fundamentally not trusting in God, which is weird because they claim to be Christians and then they claim to worship a God who is all powerful and all knowing and all good and all these things that we as Christians.
Can someone just level with me and tell me what Joel did to these people? What did he do? Is it literally that he just doesn't support Israel? Is that it? Did he actually do anything? Is there any lore here that I just don't know because I haven't really been paying attention? Has there been any internet feud? Has there been any public declarations? Has there, like, why are they so pissed off at him? He seems just like a normal Christian preacher. I really don't understand this.
Christians all believe, but then the way that they act shows they don't really believe that. Because if they actually believe that, why are they so scared all the time? And why, as a result, why are they trying to control everyone and everything? If you truly believe that, you're not going to feel the need to do that.
Right.
So, I don't know, but
it does well online, and some of it has been escaping off. It's been escaping into the offline world.
Yes.
Now there is a church near me.
She's about to talk about it. I promise you, this is going to be about Joel's church. So Joel is not a dispensationalist. You don't say.
That I called in the description a woke right church, and it's a pastor who I think you and I have talked about before. We were talking about examples of the woke right. Joel Webbon, who runs Right Response Ministries, and friends. I know 3 families who have left.
Wait. So you're telling me? So remember, guys, Mikale said, I wasn't going as a Babylon Bee journalist to spy on this church. I just decided to go just spontaneously. Yeah, Mikale, you decided to go to the church so spontaneously that you literally drove to Carrie's house and you guys went to the church together spontaneously. How is it a spontaneous visit to a church if you proactively drove to Austin, picked Carrie up, and then you guys together went to the church spontaneously? Okay.
Church, and their stories are theirs to tell. If any of them are willing to tell them publicly, I will help them do that. But I've not heard great things about what goes on there.
And then after they went to spy on the church spontaneously, they then had a spontaneous podcast where they had to set up all this equipment in Carrie's living room, and they just did this spontaneously to talk about their spontaneous visit to the church. Wow.
And so you were coming to town and you said, let's go see.
Yeah.
Let's go to the church and just see what it is.
I was just...
How the fuck was this spontaneous? He was planning a trip to Austin to go see Carrie, and then together they planned to go to the church. This was not a spontaneous operation, Carrie.
Great things about what goes on there. And so you were coming to town and you said, let's go see.
Yeah.
Let's go
Yeah.
to the church and just see what it is.
I didn't come to town for that specifically, but it just happened that we were doing this already, and we were like, hey, let's go and check this place out. So if anyone's gonna, I don't know what accusations I'm gonna get for like coming down here to cause trouble. That was not my intention. I was coming down here to visit friends, and this just happened to work out. But yeah, so I messaged you. I'm like, hey, we should go check this out. Just
and I never
go and observe and see what's going on there.
And full disclosure, like I had some interactions with him about 2 or 3 years ago because my church got kicked out of our meeting place in Georgetown because my pastor, Bradley.
That's also a lie, by the way. They didn't get kicked out of that place. That place just chose not to renew their lease. And carried to this whole, woe is me, my church has been kicked out of our meeting place. No, the place that was leasing them space decided to not renew the lease. It was really that simple.
Helgerson spoke at a city council meeting, and several mothers from our church spoke also against a mural that the middle school had painted. They had 10-year-olds paint a mural on the town square of like a kind of sexuality flags. Because our church spoke against it, there was someone on the Arts and Council Board at Georgetown that was also on the board of the nonprofit where we rented this old historic theater. Long story short, they terminated our rental contract, even though we had paid up front and for many months, refunded the money, and we lost our meeting place for a while. And so Webbon's church had reached out, or we did a joint service with them on the lawn because we were meeting on the lawn.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And they came. I was like,
and how long?
This was probably 3 years ago now.
Okay.
And I thought, how lucky are we to pass here and make.
Okay. Carrie's audio sucks. She can't get it together. I think we have the basic mise-en-scène of what happened. Carrie and Mikale are friends because they both have to defend James Lindsay all the time for all his bullshit, and they decided to go spy on someone else's church. They decided to go spy on a woke right church, and they got caught, and then they got called out on it, and then they said, no, we weren't purposefully spying on the church. We just did this spontaneously just to see what it was like. But they had already planned to do a whole podcast about the church after they went and spied on the church to make sure people know about the woke right menace preaching at the church, who doesn't really seem to be saying anything controversial other than he doesn't support Israel apparently, but he didn't even say that in the videos. I think we know what's going on. I think it's clear. Well, I'm not going to watch his series on Atlantis right now, but I promise I will check it out at some point. All right, guys. Well, that is going to conclude this stream, but don't worry. We're going to go do something far more important now. Yeah. This is the state of affairs with the anti-woke Twitter community, in that they are literally spying on churches they don't like because they think that neo-Nazis are there. This is the state of affairs. But you know what? We're going to watch an ACLU training. No one else wants to talk about the left. I'll talk about the left. It's fine. I'm going to shut this stream down. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to come back, and we're going to go watch an ACLU training. This is a live training that's going to be taking place. You can find the stream over on YouTube. I will set it up on Rumble as well. And this is going to be a public spy stream. Normally, spy streams are supporter only. We are going inside a live training. I don't know if anything interesting is going to happen, but we're going to watch, and we're going to see what the ACLU is teaching people. We're going to see how far the ACLU has strayed from its mission, and that's going to be starting in less than 10 minutes or so. And so I'm going to shut this stream down. I'm going to start that one up, and we're going to go watch a leftist training, guys. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for solving the mystery of the woke right neo-Nazi church that isn't a woke right neo-Nazi church, and it's all just bullshit. I know we're all shocked by this revelation that James Lindsay and his friends at the Babylon Bee are full of shit, but here we are. All right. I will see you guys on the other side. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
people dislike me because I am not completely like them.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.